Chapter 646 Territory, Conflict. A smile appeared on Zhou face. Sure, in the future, Zheng Yuanqi will arrange a special benefit for you that belongs solely to the god spirits. Also, Zhou waved his right hand. An ice-blue robe appeared in front of him. This king has said before, no matter who breaks through to become a god spirit, I will give them a low-tier deity-level elementary-grade divine artifact. This ice demon sacrificial robe is your reward. Zhou said. Thank you, your majesty. Vicky was ecstatic. While this was the first time he became a god spirit, he also knew how precious divine artifacts were. He had just become a low-tier deity-level god spirit, but he had already given away a divine artifact that belonged to him. This was definitely something that countless other god spirits dreamed of. Even Heros and Zaiwu looked envious when they saw this. When they first became god spirits, they did not receive such treatment. Previously, their divine artifacts were either passed down from their race or obtained from the forbidden mystic realm by taking countless risks. Unlike Vicky, directly obtaining a low-tier deity-level elementary-grade divine artifact after becoming a god spirit? Even though they also had Zhou's 6 divine artifacts, they were only temporarily lent to them and did not belong to them. After completing the contract, he had to return it. At this moment, the 2 god spirits wanted to leave the Elven Empire and join the Blazing Sun Kingdom, becoming the official offerings of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. However, it was impossible to let them leave with the current situation of the Elven Empire. They looked at each other and saw helplessness in each other's eyes. On the other side, Vicky took the ice demon sacrificial robe and put it on. He was beautiful to begin with. Now that he was wearing the ice blue robe, he looked even more beautiful. Your Majesty, I would like to take 2 days off. At this moment, Vicky stroked the ice demon sacrificial robe on her body and said in embarrassment. Why? Zhou was stunned. I plan to find a suitable star to build my own divine kingdom. This process will take about 2 to 3 days. Is that okay? If your Majesty is worried, you can come with me, Vicky said. As soon as these words were spoken, Heros and Zaiwu immediately looked at him in surprise. It was as if they could not believe that the other party would say such a thing. Was this lady crazy? Did she trust the king of the Blazing Sun that much? Zhou also came to a realization. An existence that had just become a god spirit indeed had to establish his own divine kingdom. According to his bloodline inheritance, the establishment of a divine kingdom meant the complete stabilization of one's divinity. Unless there were special circumstances, such as serious injuries, the god spirit would not be in danger of falling as long as the divine kingdom existed. At the same time, the establishment of the divine kingdom also represented the faith of the god spirit that they represented. With a truly stable anchor point in the world, after the true believers under them died, they would also have a place for their souls to return to. The speed at which their faith accumulated would also greatly increase. It could be seen how important a divine kingdom was to god spirits. However, it was precisely because of this that typically, the location of a divine kingdom was the biggest secret of god spirits. Normally, god spirits would not tell outsiders the location of their divine kingdom. Otherwise, once the location of the divine kingdom was revealed, it would attract external enemies to attack. Once the divine kingdom was broken, the god spirits would fall from their positions and become normal extraordinary tier life forms. In more serious cases, there was a high chance that they would even die. This was also why Heros and the others were so surprised by Vicky's words. Even if Vicky was indebted to Zhou for becoming a god, there was no need for him to reveal the location of her divine kingdom. Zhou thought about it and finally gave up on the idea of following Vicky to build a divine kingdom. I'm really curious. However, 2 to 3 days is too long. I still have to continue the activities of the Supreme Will. Go by yourself and be careful, Zhou said. Vicky's loyalty was very high. It had already reached 90 points. Such high loyalty might be related to the fact that he had helped the other party eliminate the royal family of the Ice Demon Kingdom and the opportunity for he to become a god spirit. Therefore, he was naturally not worried that the other party would take the divine artifact and run away. Heras and Zewu were even more puzzled upon hearing Zhou words. Did this lord and subordinate trust each other so much? One was willing to reveal the location of his divine kingdom, while the other was willing to give the divine artifact to a god spirit he had just met, and even dared to let the other party leave the territory with the divine artifact. The two gods found it unbelievable, but it had to be said. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. They were very envious of such heart-to-heart behavior. Yes, Your Majesty, Vicky said gratefully. Then they left the reception room together. After Zhou and the others left the reception room, Vicky took the lead to bid farewell to the others. Then, she flew into the sky alone and quickly disappeared. Among the many stars in the legendary star sea, other than most of them being natural stars, a small portion of the other stars are projections of the divine kingdoms in the world after the god spirits established them. That's something to look forward to. Zhou looked in the direction where Vicky flew off and sighed. With Your Majesty's talent, it will definitely be very easy for you to become a god spirit. Heras smiled. Zewu nodded. The two god spirits were discerning people. They could naturally tell at a glance how astonishing Zhou's aptitude was. He could use law skills and divine artifacts before becoming a god spirit. He could even use divine artifacts that were above his level. Even the top bloodline races like the original spirit race, the chaos gods race, and the shepherd's god race could not compare to this ability. Zhou smiled and did not say anything. By the way, Your Majesty, I saw that in your territory, other than humans, there are many other races. There are even races of fog monsters. They should be the enemies you defeated before and surrendered to you, right? Aren't you afraid that conflict will break out between them because of what happened in the past? At this moment, Zewu asked curiously. Zewu and Heras had seen many lords like Zhou, who encouraged the fusion of many races. But for someone like Zhou, they had just arrived at the high continent not long ago. Yet they dared to gather so many people of foreign races together as their subjects. They even dared to bring them out to fight without any worries. This was the first time they had seen a lord who was not afraid of being stabbed in the back. There were only two possibilities for this situation. Either Zhou was a fool, which was naturally impossible, or Zhou had the confidence to resolve the problem of racial integration. Zewu and Heras were puzzled. Where did Zhou's confidence come from? The future of the war of the Lord of all races is the future of harmonious coexistence between different races. That's a given. Therefore, since I can try it when there are few subjects, I'm still willing to try it when I'm confident that I can ensure the safety of myself and the subjects. Otherwise, when there are more subjects in the future, when a new race is integrated, the repulsive force might be very strong. Zhou said half-truthfully. His greatest confidence was the diamond-level lord talent, peace and prosperity. Now this confidence was naturally the extraordinary level lord talent, peaceful times. However, this was not something that outsiders could tell. Chapter 647 Long. Eye of the Heavens Anger Secret Law. Moreover, what he said was part of his true thoughts. When there were few subjects, everyone was anxious about survival every day and focused on it. Why would they care about the people of foreign races? The more people of foreign races came, the stronger the territory would be, and the higher the probability of survival in the battles of the Lord of all races. At this moment, the subjects could not wait for more people of foreign races to come. On the contrary, if there were more subjects of the same race in the territory, the pressure on survival would be greatly reduced. Then, this race would naturally begin to instinctively exclude outsiders, to ensure the orthodoxy of bloodline and status. At that time, it would not be easy to promote the harmonious coexistence of multiple races. Actually, so far, there are still some violent conflicts in my territory. The reason for the conflict between them is mostly because of old grudges. Once victory and defeat are decided, regardless of life and death, the grudges between the two sides must be written off. We can't implicate our descendants. Zheng Yuanqi's idea is to set up a life and death arena. It's best to settle the grudges of our generation in our generation. There's no need to implicate the next generation. They don't know anything. They haven't done anything. There's no need for them to accept the aftermath of the war. That way, our descendants will always be unlucky. I don't have a better solution, so I let Jing Yuanqi do as he wants. Zhou said. Actually, there was one thing he did not say. Those who initiated the life and death duel were mostly the few monster subjects and people of foreign races who joined later. As for the human subjects and some other people of foreign races, almost no one would take the initiative to initiate a life and death duel. Why? This was because ever since he rose to prominence, especially after obtaining a heaven-defying divine art like the small resurrection spell, his soldiers had always maintained a shocking record of 0 deaths. No one had died, so there was naturally no deep hatred. Naturally, no one would initiate a life and death duel out of boredom. Only a very small number of the people of foreign race soldiers, who had been instigated by insight defection, started a life and death duel, because they had witnessed their own people being killed by human soldiers and other people of foreign race soldiers. However, there were very few of them. That was because be it the high loyalty brought about by insight defection, or the recently promoted peaceful times, they subconsciously did not do anything that would affect the peaceful atmosphere of the territory. In addition, they had also enjoyed the benefits of the small resurrection spell. They had also seen more and more people of foreign races become subjects of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. They had also seen them build the Blazing Sun Kingdom together with him, and their friendship. Most importantly, it was the peaceful social atmosphere that people had cherished for a long time. Therefore, unless it was a deep-seated hatred, otherwise, not many subjects would initiate a life and death duel. So much so that most of the life or death arenas set up by Zheng Yuanqi were unused. It might only open once or twice a week. Heras and Zhe Wu sighed with emotion when they heard that. In the High Continent, how to resolve the various bad trails left behind by the war had always been one of the main concerns of the lords. However, no one had a good solution. It was the same even for Divine Kingdom lords. Perhaps it was only when the mighty power of time turned everything into history and books that people would gradually forget these days of blood and fire. Zhou did not say anything else after all. He first gathered all the soldiers, including the Star Alliance's lord and soldiers, as well as the mysterious caravan. Then, they used the spatial teleportation array to arrive at a Black Iron Tier territory that they had conquered last night. After the army teleported here, Nazario, who was in charge of guarding this place, immediately flew over. Your Majesty, it said in a low voice. Did anything happen last night? No. Nazario shook his head. Zhou nodded. Come on, he said. Then, through Zheng Fugue and his mysterious caravan, they entered the Myriad Illusions small world again. In the Myriad Illusions small world, Zhou and company had just appeared in the Myriad Illusions small world when the scene they saw stunned them. This was because they actually saw Cab and more than 100 illusory fate race beings not far from them. It was as if they knew that they would appear here and waited here. At the same time, Zhou also saw an illusory life race member in a yellowish-brown robe. He stood alone. The other illusory fate race members seemed to be very afraid of him. They all distanced themselves from him and looked at him with fear from time to time. Zhou narrowed his eyes slightly. This guy. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. He had not seen it when he came yesterday. King of the Blazing Sun. At this moment, when Cab and the other illusory life race members saw Zhou and the others appear, their eyes lit up. They distanced themselves from the yellow-brown robed illusory life race member and came to their side, as if they were escaping. What are you doing here? Zhou asked. He asked. It was Long who calculated it. Cab whispered. That's Long. Zhou looked at the mysterious existence in the yellowish-brown robe. What Long? He's a demon that eats my people. He must be up to no good to call us here. We have to be careful. That guy might be hiding something. Maybe he called us here as part of a conspiracy. The other members of the Phantom race were clearly very afraid of Long. When they heard this, they seemed to be agitated and said excitedly, Yes, that's him. Cab said with a complicated tone. Zhou looked at Long. He could sense that the illusory fate race member Long was also looking at him. However, What surprised Zhou was that he could sense that the other party's life force was like a candle flame in the wind. It was obvious that he did not have long to live. Your Majesty, I know what you want, okay? At this moment, a hoarse voice reached Zhou's ears. It was Long's voice transmission. You know what I want? Zhou raised his eyebrows. What you want is probably the divination method and Bodhi Supreme that our illusory life race found more than 10,000 years ago, right? Long said. How do you know that? At our illusory life race's current stage, the only things that can still be considered valuable are those few things. What's so difficult to guess? Long said calmly. How about we make a deal? What deal? If you can leave this place with the members of the illusory life race, it'll give you the Eye of the Heavens Anger Secret Law, the Sealing the Heavens and Earth Void Life Concealing Technique, and the Bodhi Supreme that has one use left. If you can't bring the illusory life race out of here, it'll still hand over the Eye of the Heavens Anger Secret Law, and the Sealing the Heavens, Earth, and Void Life Concealing Technique to you. Then, you can leave this place and never interfere in the matters here again. By the way, the Eye of the Heavens Anger Secret Law is the secret technique you want to find. Long said. When Zhou heard this, he immediately narrowed his eyes and looked at it. Chapter 648 Successfully Leaving. The Value of the Myriad Illusions Small World. I don't understand you. In the eyes of the illusory life race, you're clearly a demon that eats its own clansmen, and has even reared them for consumption. Why are you actually treating the illusory life race better now? Why? Did you suddenly have a conscience when you saw an outsider enter? Zhou asked. There's no point. Long said. What? Zhou raised his eyebrows. I said there's no point. No matter what my initial goal is, what's done is done. Other than knowing the meaning of what you were thinking back then, it doesn't mean much to outsiders. Long said. A look of contemplation flashed across Zhou's eyes. Then he said calmly, but if I kill you, I think I can get what I want. You can't have it. This is the world of our illusory life race. I was once the patriarch of the illusory life race. If I want to hide something, no one can get it. Furthermore, only I, the former patriarch, still have the Eye of the Heavens Anger Secret Law, and the Sealing the Heavens, Earth, and Void Life Concealing Technique. The other illusory life races don't know. I'm dead. You won't get anything. Long said. Can't get it? Zhou raised his eyebrows. Can I say that I've already seen the two loots in your spoils of war? The Eye of the Heavens Anger Secret Law, and the Heaven Sealing Void Life Concealing Technique? On the other hand, Bodhi Supreme was indeed not on him. However, Zhou was not afraid of this. At most, he would get Xiao Xian to come over and directly start the blessing of the God of Fortune mode. He thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. I'll try. Zhou said. Long said nothing, just stared at him in silence. Zhou did not say anything else. Even though he had the confidence to obtain the treasure, he was more curious about what the other party was selling. Even though the two of them said a lot, it was only a matter of a thought. The illusory life race members only felt that the human lord's gaze drifted for a while before he focused his gaze on them again. My lord, can you take us away now? An elder one of the illusory life race asked anxiously. It was the elder one from the illusory life race who asked Zhou if he could take them away yesterday. The other illusory life race members also looked at Zhou. Due to their failure yesterday, the illusory life race did not have much hope. But, what if? I can try. Looking at the gazes of the illusory life race, Zhou said with a faint smile. Elder Zheng. Get ready. Zhou said to Zheng Fugui. Okay. Zheng Fugui grinned. Then, he stood up and looked at the 100-odd members of the illusory life race tribe in front of him. He looked around and asked, is there anyone who is willing to try to leave this place with me? The illusory life race members looked at each other. I'll do it. Cab raised his hand and said weakly. Zhou and Zheng Fugui nodded. Then, Zheng Fugui helped the other party put on the mysterious caravan's starry sky merchant robe. With a casual wave of his hand, he opened up a complete and stable spatial passageway. As soon as the spatial passageway opened, all the members of the illusory fate clan immediately looked at the tunnel with desire in their eyes. Even Long, who was not far away, took 2 steps forward and stopped. "Come on," Zhang Fugui said kindly to Cab. "Will do." Cab swallowed his saliva and walked into the spatial passageway with Zhang Fugui. The next second, all the life forms present saw Zhang Fugui and Cab walk into the spatial passageway together and disappear. Then the spatial passageway closed as well. The illusory life race waited for a while. When he realized that Cab was not expelled, their expressions immediately became excited. Some of the illusory life race members even knelt on the ground in excitement and cried bitterly. Cab didn't come back. He really didn't come back. He must have gone out. He must have successfully gone out. Is the outside world really that good? Can we eat our fill in the future, Mom? Mom doesn't know either. But no matter where we go, it's better than staying in this world and waiting for death. All the illusory life race members were extremely excited. Some of the illusory fate race members who were born in the myriad illusions small world asked in confusion and desire. Our illusory life race has finally escaped this prison. The old man who spoke first looked up at the sky with tears streaming down his face. Wait a minute. Maybe it's a trap. The other illusory life race member was still a little cautious. He looked at Zhou and said, "Lord, can you let Cab return? I don't have any other intentions. I just want to confirm his safety." The others also looked at Zhou. Understandable. Zhou nodded and communicated with Zhang Fugui in his heart, asking him to bring Cab back. As the spatial passage opened up again, Zhang Fugui walked out of the spatial passage while holding Cab's hand. At this moment, Cab's face was rosy, and his expression was filled with shock and reluctance. From time to time, he would turn around to look at the spatial passageway. When he saw the spatial passageway close, he could not help but reveal a disappointed expression. "Child, how's the outside world? Child, did you sense the natural energies? Child, is the outside much better than the myriad illusions small world?" Cab had just returned. A group of people from the illusory life race clan immediately surrounded him and spoke excitedly. Cab immediately nodded and told everyone what he had seen outside. Even though there was not much content, it still dazzled the illusory life race, as if they had personally experienced it. "Everyone, as long as you promise me here, you will become subjects of my blazing sun kingdom now. I'll send everyone out immediately." Zhou struck while the iron was hot and looked at the illusory life race clansmen. The members of the illusory life race agreed without hesitation. Just as they agreed to become the blazing sun kingdom's subjects, the extraordinary tier lord talent, peaceful times immediately took effect. When all the illusory life race members looked at Zhou again, their eyes were filled with heartfelt respect and love. Zhou smiled. Then, without wasting any time, he asked Zhang Fugui to put on the mysterious merchant's attire for all the members of the illusory life race. Then he opened a spatial passageway and left the prison that had trapped the members of the illusory life race for tens of thousands of years. At the moment before he left, none of the illusory fate race members showed any reluctance to leave this place. They didn't even look back. Even children were like this. It was obvious how much they wanted to escape this place. After all the members of the illusory life race left, Zhou looked at Long, who was motionless not far away. "Are you leaving too?" he asked. Long stood quietly where he was. Then, he nodded and silently walked towards the spatial passageway before disappearing. Only Zhou and the others from the Blazing Sun Kingdom were left in the myriad illusions small world. This world is not bad. If I can master the way to enter and exit freely and prepare enough resources, I can use it as a secret base. Wu Xian looked at this desolate world and lamented. Zhou also nodded. It was a world after all. No matter how desolate it was, it still had its value. He thought for a moment and chose to leave 100 soldiers and enough supplies here to guard this world. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. In that case, the mysterious caravan's unlimited right of passage, empire level, could still be used. Otherwise, if there was not a single faction in this world, the mysterious caravan's unlimited right of passage, empire level, would lose its effect, and they would not be able to come here again. Chapter 649 Bodhi Supreme. After Zhou left behind 100 soldiers and corresponding survival resources, he did not stay any longer, and left through the spatial passageway, opened by the mysterious caravan, with the other Blazing Sun Kingdom members. In the outside world, after Zhou and the others came out, they saw that Long Cab and the other illusory life race members had already boarded a starry night, and were looking at the sea below excitedly through the starry night's external simulation mode. What dense water vapor! I've never felt such dense water vapor in my life. Is this the sea recorded in the books? It's so vast. Why does the seawater look a little dark? It's so scary, as if it leads to an abyss. More than 100 illusory life race members discussed animatedly, as if they had just come to a big city from a small place. Zhou and the others looked at each other and smiled. Even though they had a motive for rescuing them, Zhou and company still felt a sense of accomplishment when they saw them. Thank you, Your Majesty. If not for His Majesty, we might have been trapped in that cage for the rest of our lives. We might not have seen such a scene even until we died. It's fine for us old fellows, but children can't have no future. At this moment, an elder one of the illusory life clan trembled as he came in front of Zhou and bowed respectfully. Then he sighed. The other illusory life race members also reacted when they heard this. They surrounded Zhou and expressed their gratitude. The little cab looked at Zhou with shining eyes, his gaze filled with admiration. You're too kind, everyone. Zhou nodded. After chatting with them for a while, he walked towards Long. When the illusory life race saw this scene, a hint of surprise flashed in their eyes. Some of them looked hesitant, but in the end, no one stopped them. Because they trusted their emperor. How's the outside world? Zhou came in front of Long and looked at him. This guy's strength was only extraordinary tier advanced grade. Zhou was already at the intermediate grade epic tier. He could fight a god spirit, so he was naturally not afraid of him. At this moment, Long Zheng was standing in front of the exterior simulation, looking at the sea scenery outside in a daze. After hearing Zhou's words, he nodded subconsciously. Nice. I just can't get enough of it. I will bring the thing you want to you, he said. Zhou's eyes lit up. He took it from the air and checked it first. After confirming that there was nothing wrong with the jade slip, a trace of his consciousness entered it. The first jade slip recorded the sealing the heavens and sealing the earth, void concealing life. Zhou's eyes lit up. This was because he discovered that even though this secret technique did not record the method to leave, it recorded the method to enter from the outside. Moreover, this method was very detailed. They could even use specific settings to only allow a specific bloodline life form to enter, or even a specific life form. The closed-off and confidentiality could be set to be extremely strong. However, even though there was a way to enter, Zhou did not intend to withdraw the 100 soldiers he had arranged previously. He even planned to send more people over. This way, he could build something in the Myriad Illusions small world. In the future, if he really needed to settle down here, he could directly move in. The second jade slip recorded a divination technique of the Eye of the Heavens Anger. Zhou read this cultivation technique carefully, and roughly understood how this cultivation technique had found the main generals of the Scarlet Divine Kingdom back then. According to the description of the Eye of the Heavens Anger, this divination technique could make one feel an existence that was disliked by the Supreme, while in an extremely vast area. Moreover, the stronger one was, the more obvious the feeling of the users of the divination technique would be. Back then, this divination technique had been used more than 10 times by a high-tier deity-level elder of the illusory life race. He had divined all the northeast regions of the High Continent. This operation had almost found all the powerful Scarlet Generals. How big was the High Continent? The Lord of all races of the myriad worlds and countless life forms fought for supremacy here. But there was never a problem of insufficient land. Therefore, even the northeast region was vaster than hundreds or thousands of heavenly worlds. However, that was it. He was still divined by the high-tier deity-level illusory life race more than 10 times. It could be seen how powerful this divination technique was. Of course, even such a powerful divination technique had a huge restriction. In order to use the Eye of the Heavens anger, one had to possess the illusionary heavenly fate bloodline talent. Otherwise, he would not have been able to use the secret technique, the Eye of the Heavens anger. At this thought, Zhou gaze landed on Cab and the other members of the illusory life race as he fell into deep thought. After thinking for a while, his gaze landed on the last black gold seed. This black gold seed was about the size of a walnut. It was completely black, and dark golden patterns covered its surface. It looked mysterious and precious. A fragrance that was similar to an orange, but somewhat different emanated from its body. Zhou only took a whiff, and his mind became much clearer. He even dared to become much clearer about the laws of the world. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Item stats information appeared. Treasure name, Bodhi Supreme. Treasure grade, mythical tier. Treasure effect 1 no doubts. With the Bodhi Supreme in your hand, ask the Bodhi Supreme the question in your heart. The Bodhi Supreme will give you an answer. Current number of questions answered: 1/3. Prompt. After the enhancement of your scavenger talent, the current number of questions answered by the Bodhi Supreme has increased to 2/3. Treasure effect 2, Bodhi comprehension. With the Bodhi Supreme in your hand, your comprehension will increase greatly. Treasure description. A mythical tier treasure personally created by the Supreme Will. It can resolve all the doubts in the world. Zhou's expression turned solemn. Was this the Bodhi Supreme? It turned out that apart from being omnipotent, it could also help people improve their comprehension. What surprised Zhou the most was his green bronze tier lord talent, Scavenger, was actually useful against a mythical tier treasure like Bodhi Supreme. One had to know that Zhou had only seen such a mythical tier treasure, like the Lord Talent Promotion Origin Crystals, obtained during the Novice Lord test. That Origin Crystal made Zhou's legendary tier Lord Talent, 100% drop rate, become a mythical tier Lord Talent, King of Loots. As a treasure of the same level, this Bodhi Supreme could actually be enhanced by the green bronze tier Lord Talent. This was as ridiculous as the pedals of a bicycle running as fast as a high-speed rail. I'll upgrade my scavenger talent later. Maybe it can be used a few more times. Zhou thought. King of the Blazing Sun, can you promise me one more thing? I can give you some more benefits. At this moment, seeing that Zhou had finished checking the goods, Long spoke again. What benefits? Zhou immediately asked. Long could not help but laugh. This guy didn't even ask what was going on, and directly asked for benefits. It's nothing. I just hope that you can take good care of the members of the illusory life race. Long said. Chapter 650 Absorbing the Illusory Fate Race Bloodline. What the hell do you mean? You're the one who ate the illusory life race, and want me to take care of the illusory life race? Let me tell you a story. Long said. I don't want to hear it. Zhou said calmly. Long, why don't you play by the rules? Long sighed and started talking to himself. Once upon a time, there was a clan chief. He and his people were trapped in a world where they would die if they didn't get out. They tried everything to leave this world, but they couldn't. At this moment, an opportunity to answer any doubts has fallen into the hands of this patriarch. So he asked him how to solve the current predicament. The other party told him that if his illusory life race bloodline reached the level of a god spirit, he could rely on his bloodline talent to find a way to resolve his predicament. The other party even thoughtfully gave him a secret technique called blood seal. As long as this patriarch devoured the bloodline of his own race, he would be able to continuously increase the grade of his bloodline. The patriarch suffered when he learned the method, but after a long period of conflicted thoughts, he decided to use this method. Because he knows that if he doesn't use this method, all of his clansmen will die in this world. However, if he uses it, he might become a devil in the eyes of his clansmen. At the very least, his clansmen will have a chance to escape from the prison in the future and live. Let me ask you, what would you have done if you'd faced that predicament? Long asked him. Zhou said nothing. This question was really difficult to answer. Long laughed self-deprecatingly before Zhou could reply. I don't mean to wash my sins away by telling this story. Because I did become the devil after all. He waved his right hand, and another jade slip appeared in his hand. This isn't the blood seal. It's a method that I've developed over the past thousands of years with my bloodline talent, the world-breaking divine spike. I specially researched it for the sealing the heavens, sealing the earth and void life concealing technique. Even though it still can't break through the sealing the heavens, sealing the earth and void life concealing technique. However, it shouldn't be a problem to break through the spatial lockdown below high-tier deity level, such as time lockdown, illusion lockdown, energy lockdown, matter lockdown and fate lockdown. As for the blood seal, it shouldn't have appeared in this world. That's why I'm not giving it to you. Long said in a low voice. Zhou naturally did not object. He did not need the blood seal spell. As the owner of the King of Loots and the Chaos human bloodline, he was born with the strongest means to obtain bloodlines and devour to evolve bloodlines. Naturally, he did not need the inferior blood restriction secret technique. Sure. I promise you, Zhou said. Then he took the jade slip. He looked over. It indeed recorded the secret technique world-breaking divine spike. Moreover, it was a high-tier deity-level intermediate-grade secret technique. Even though Zhou had many methods now, such methods to break through the blockade were indeed very rare. These secret techniques could make up for his shortcomings. At this moment, he suddenly felt something, and his gaze shifted from the jade slip to Long. He stood quietly in front of the external simulation and looked at the sea outside without moving. The already weak life aura on his body had completely disappeared. He was dead. Zhou looked at him. He had nothing to comment on this special illusory life race. Just as he said, no matter what his original intention was, he did it. Since he had made this choice, he had to bear the consequences of it. They were either praises or infamy. As for whether it was right or wrong, he would leave it to future generations to evaluate. He walked up to him and placed his hand on his shoulder. Then he extracted the loots. The next second, his corpse suddenly turned into countless loot and flew into Zhou's king's treasure box. Seeing this, Zhou began to check the loot he had obtained from the king's treasure box. Heaven sealing void life concealment technique, quicksand divination technique, eye of the heavens anger, spirit forbidden secret technique, world breaking divine spike, blood seal. All kinds of loots appeared in the king's treasure box. Long was the former leader of the illusory life race after all. He had many skills, especially divination skills. However, Zhou was not interested in these loots. He even sealed it without looking at it when he saw the secret technique, blood seal. However, his eyes lit up when he saw one loot. It was a heart covered in an illusory white fog. Zhou looked at it. A text notification appeared. Bloodline name. Illusory Fate Race Bloodline. Bloodline level. Legendary tier advanced grade. Bloodline effect. After absorbing it, the user can obtain the bloodline of the Phantom Fate race. After fusing with this bloodline, the user will gradually awaken the bloodline ability of the Phantom Fate race during their growth. Prompt. Fuse 100 sets of legendary tier advanced grade, illusory life race bloodline, and you can obtain one low-tier deity advanced grade, illusory life race bloodline. After absorbing the bloodline of this illusory fate race, I can also master the illusionary heavenly fate bloodline talent. Zhou looked at the bloodline and thought to himself. Then, he took it out of the king's treasure box and chose to absorb it without hesitation. A faint warmth appeared in Zhou's heart. At the same time, Zhou realized that his mind was clearer. At the same time, he had an inexplicable sense of the surrounding world. It's a little like a sixth sense, but I feel that it's even more mysterious than my sixth sense, Zhou muttered to himself. At this moment, the text notification of absorbing the bloodline finally appeared. You have absorbed one portion of the illusory fate race, legendary tier advanced grade. You have absorbed one portion of the 10,000 Gu King race, legendary tier advanced grade. Your six senses have been slightly strengthened. You have awakened the legendary tier advanced grade illusory fate race talent, illusionary heavenly fate. You have awakened the legendary tier advanced grade illusory fate race talent, destiny perception. You have awakened the legendary tier advanced grade illusory fate race talent, mental divination. You have grasped the illusory fate race's common sense inheritance. You have grasped the secret inheritance of the illusory fate race. Zhou looked at the awakened bloodline talents. Race talent name. Illusionary heavenly fate. Talent level. Legendary tier advanced grade. Talent description. As a member of the illusory life race, you can deduce and divine the future you want to know by consuming your life force or even your fortune. The smaller the impact the future deduced had on him and the world, the lower the consumption of his deduction and divination. The greater the impact the future deduced had on him and the world, the greater the consumption of his deduction and divination. Sometimes, he even had to deduce with all his fortune before he could deduce and divinate. Race talent name. Fate perception. Talent level. Legendary tier advanced grade. Talent description. You have a certain talent in the law of fate. Sometimes, you will develop a specific vague perception of the fate of the myriad existences in the world. Race talent name. Mental divination. Talent level. Legendary tier advanced grade. Talent description. The illusory life race is a natural divination race. They don't even need to use their bloodline talent to deduce some simple future divinations. They can deduce the results through mental divination. Zhou looked at the bloodline notifications thoughtfully. Chapter 651 Talent. Like a double-edged sword, there was naturally no need to mention the illusory fate race's common sense inheritance and the illusory fate race's secret inheritance. They were all used to increase Zhou's foundation. The talent of the illusionary heavenly fate surprised Zhou. Using it actually consumed one's life force, or even fortune. Vitality was nothing. As a chaos human, Zhou's greatest strength was his vitality. His vitality was even stronger than some god-tier bloodlines that focused on the law of life talent. However, fortune was not something that could not be casually consumed. This thing was simply his future. There was a saying, someone's fortune is over. There's not much good life left. It referred to such fortunes. It could be seen how important fortune was. Zhou naturally cherished his own fortune. He could clearly feel it now. His fortune was quite strong. Even the luck of the emperors in ancient China did not even have 0.001% of his current fortunes. But even so, Zhou was unwilling to exhaust even a little of his fortune. What if what he lacked in the end was this bit of fortune when he fought for the position of the Lord of all races in the future? At the thought of this, Zhou secretly decided, unless he had no choice, otherwise, when he used the illusionary heavenly fate, he would only deduce and divine things that consumed his life force. At the thought of this, Zhou suddenly thought of something else. Back then, the high-tier deity levels of the illusory life race must have consumed a terrifying fate in order to deduce the main Scarlet Generals of the Hidden Battle Axe Scarlet Divine Kingdom. According to the common sense inheritance given to me by the illusory life race. Back then, after the illusory life race deduced the location of the Scarlet General, 2 high-tier deities, 4 mid-tier deities, and 6 low-tier deities died in the race. Back then, the illusory life race, which was considered a relatively famous high-level bloodline race, suffered a huge blow because of this deduction. They had no choice but to publicize that map and let the other high-level races take a share of the loot. Even though I still obtained the final event reward of the Supreme Will in the end, I was forced to hide for 10,000 years. The fact that the illusory life race is trapped in the myriad illusions small world and is on the verge of extinction might be related to the divination back then that almost exhausted the luck of the illusory life race. The more Zhou thought about it, the more he felt that this divination technique was a double-edged sword. It was used well, to be able to stand out from the myriad races, and even obtain the final event reward of the supreme event. It was not used well. Not only would he die, but he might even cause his race to be on the verge of extermination. The god spirits of the illusory fate race back then might have also expected this. However, they chose to gamble. As for the outcome of the bet, Zhou shook his head. It was very difficult for him to make an evaluation. He shook his head and laughed. This was a matter of the illusory life race. Why was he thinking so much? He looked at the other 2 bloodline talents. Fate perception was also a good bloodline talent. It could actually allow him to have a certain talent in the law of fate. The law of fate was one of the top laws among the many laws of the supreme will. As for the mental divination technique, it was also a good bloodline talent. At least in the future, whoever lost something, such as keys, missed cores or other small items, there was no need to trouble yourself to look for it. He calculated in his heart and found it. Now that I've mastered divination and the law of fate talent, the abilities in my body are getting more and more mixed. Lightning law talent, spatial law talent, fate law talent, bloodline path, blood law talent, light law talent. What kind of path will I walk in the future? What kind of nomological talent will I use to achieve my God spirit path? Zhou looked even more confused. He was a little happy and vexed. It was not good to master too many abilities and talents. For those with limited abilities and talent, at his current level, he would probably be very clear what kind of God spirit path he would walk in the future. There was no other path to take after all. Honorable Supreme Will, what law path should I take to become an achievement God spirit? Zhou asked casually. He had asked this question before. However, the Supreme Will did not make a reply. Occasionally, he would say, "The path of the law is on you." But wasn't this obvious? Ask the Bodhi Supreme. He will help you solve your problem. At this moment, a notification from the Supreme Will appeared in front of Zhou. Zhou was stunned. There was actually a different reply. However, when he saw the answer of the Supreme Will, joy immediately appeared on his face. Can the Bodhi Supreme really help me solve my problem? Zhou muttered to himself. He had actually wanted to ask this question when he obtained the Bodhi Supreme. However, he was not too confident. Now that he had the answer of the Supreme Will, he felt much more confident. He'll ask Bodhi Supreme tonight, Zhou thought to himself. As for now, he had to let his soldiers continue doing faction quests. After that, Zhou did not stay any longer and returned to the back Blazing Sun Kingdom through the Black Iron Tier territory. In the future, he planned to occupy a few more territories here. This way, even if this Black Iron Tier territory was captured, there were at least other territories that he could teleport over. As for directly building a territory and teleportation array in the Myriad Illusions small world, it sounded beautiful, but that would not work. This was because the heaven-sealing void life concealment technique of the illusory life race had already completely blocked the internal and external space of the Myriad Illusions small world. The spatial teleportation array could not produce an effect at all. Even Zhou's yellow gold tier return to the city could not pass through the heaven-sealing void life concealment technique, unless Zhou could raise it to a higher level. However, Zhou did not have so many white platinum tier Lord Talent crystal fragments in his hands now. He could not upgrade to return to the city for the time being. He could only wait until he gathered enough resources. Blazing Sun Kingdom. After Zhou returned to the capital of the Blazing Sun, he immediately used the spatial teleportation array to arrive at the Night Empire. He then teleported to the latest epic tier spatial teleportation array that they had captured yesterday. The soldiers of the Night Empire, who were guarding this spatial teleportation array, were very polite to Zhou and the others. After asking if he wanted to rest, Zhou tactfully refused. Then, he led the soldiers onto the Starry Night and flew to the next destination, a legendary tier advanced grade spatial teleportation array. More than 6 hours later, after occupying 4 extraordinary tier advanced grade spatial teleportation arrays and 2 epic tier advanced grade spatial teleportation arrays, Zhou successfully underwent 2 insight defections in the Scarlet Garrison of the 2 epic tier advanced grade spatial teleportation arrays. A total of more than 10 million Scarlet Garrisons gave him 2,561,636 Scarlet Monsters for insight defection. Chapter 652 Military Industry Lord's Request. After the insight defection was completed, Zhou left a bloodbat avatar for Bai Yun and the others as usual. Then, he let them conquer the other spatial teleportation arrays themselves while he returned to the Blazing Sun Kingdom alone. In a study room in the Advanced Grade Lord's Paradise of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, Zhou returned and was about to upgrade the Green Bronze Tier Lord Talent, Scavenger, when he suddenly realized that the message interface had flashed. He opened it and realized that it was a message from the military industry lord. He looked over curiously. Military industry lord. Your Majesty, why haven't you bought the weapons from our military industry alliance recently? We have recently developed many new cerulean planet weapons. Our weapon developer even added some inspiration for the design of Machina race weapons in the High Continent. Their lethality is much stronger than when they were on the cerulean planet. Zhou scratched his head. Cerulean planet weapons. He had indeed bought some firearms and weapons from the military industry lord. However, at that time, the military industry lord could only develop some firearms from the First World War. Even though they were considered strong and could reach the standard of bronze and silver arms, as the strength of his soldiers increased rapidly, these weapons gradually could not match the strength of the soldiers. In addition, his ultimate lord, Zhou had obtained the loots of the Machina race's Lord Father. He had grasped high-level war technology manufacturing blueprints of the Machina race, such as the Invisible Ghost, the Shield of Light, the Soul Residence, the Giant Axe Ripper, and the Suicide Bomb Beetles. Therefore, he had long stopped using those primitive and backward First World War weapons. Lord of the Blazing Sun. I forgot to buy weapons from you recently, because I have new weapons channels. Zhou replied truthfully. Military Industry City Territory. When the military industry lord saw the Lord of the Blazing Sun's answer, he could not help but smile bitterly. That's true. With His Majesty's strength, it would be strange if he still takes a fancy to our weapons back then. I wonder if my current bargaining chip can move him, the military industry lord muttered to himself. Then, he looked out of the territory at the fatigue, panic, and confusion on the faces of the subjects. His eyes gradually became firm. Not every lord of the cerulean planet was as heaven-defying as Zhou. Not only could he do the top-notch faction quests in this King of 10,000 Kings event, he even had time to conquer an intermediate kingdom. Most of the cerulean planet lords, even top-notch lords like the military industry lord, were deep in the mire of the King of 10,000 Kings activities and struggling. The pressure brought to them by the large-scale offensive of the Scarlet faction was too terrifying after all. There were really as many Diamond Tier Extraordinary Tier experts as there were dogs. Epic Tier Legendary Tier experts were everywhere. Even Scarlet God spirits began to appear. It was very difficult for them to resist such a Scarlet faction with the forces they had developed so far. It was very difficult for them to resist such a Scarlet faction with the forces they had developed so far. No wonder the Supreme will ask the lords of all races to join the Kingdom or Empire faction to assist these local factions in resisting the invasion of the endless Scarlet factions, instead of letting the lords of all races fight head-on. With this difference in strength, wouldn't a head-on confrontation be pure sending him to his death? In this war situation, even top lords like the Military Industry Lord, the Dragon Lady Lord, and the Undead Lord had a hard time surviving. Only cerulean planet lords with legendary tier lord talents like the Overlord Lord, the Dragon God Lord, and the Insect Lord could barely live better. However, it was not much better. They did not even dare to hope to obtain a high ranking in their faction now. Being able to live through this King of 10,000 Kings event unscathed was their greatest wish. The Military Industry Lord did not think too much about it, and typed to Zhou again. Military Industry Lord. Your Majesty of the Blazing Sun, I want to make a request of you on behalf of the entire Military Industry Alliance. Lord of the Blazing Sun, you don't have to be so polite. We're old friends. If you have anything to say, just say it. Zhou had a good impression of the few lords who could work with him among the cerulean planet lords. In addition, this guy was the only lord without a lord talent among the lords of the cerulean planet. Zhou admired him. Military Industry Lord, I want to buy an extraordinary tier elementary grade kingdom token from you. Zhou raised his eyebrows. Then he typed, Lord of the Blazing Sun, you want to build a kingdom? The conditions to build a kingdom are very difficult to achieve. Military Industry Lord, we can already satisfy the other two conditions other than the extraordinary tier elementary grade kingdom token. Zhou was really surprised when he saw his reply. Even he had spent a considerable amount of time and effort to gather the 3 conditions to establish a kingdom. He was not an arrogant person. However, he could not help but feel that it was very difficult for a second cerulean planet lord to have his talent, opportunity, and strength to gather these 3 conditions to establish a kingdom in a short period of time, to build a second cerulean planet lord's kingdom other than his. The military industry lord actually said that he was only lacking an extraordinary tier elementary grade kingdom token to gather all the conditions to establish a kingdom. How could he not be surprised? Zhou asked without thinking too much. Lord of the Blazing Sun, how did you satisfy the other 2 conditions? Military industry lord. Sigh. Isn't it because of this King of 10,000 Kings event, or rather, the Tribulation of All Races event? Military industry lord. I'm a little embarrassed to say this. In some ways, we have to thank the King of 10,000 Kings for this event. Military industry lord. If not for this tribulation of all races, there wouldn't be so many kingdom-level factions scattered by the Scarlet faction, and so many experts and resources wouldn't have fallen into the hands of low-level lord factions like us. Military industry lord. Your Majesty, you're right. The reason why we have gathered the other 2 conditions to establish a kingdom is because we obtained the remains of those kingdom-level forces that have already been destroyed. Military industry lord. After the kingdom was destroyed, the descendants of these kingdom-level lord forces brought a portion of the resources accumulated by their kingdom to wander the high continent. Military industry lord. I saw the opportunity and found these descendants. After accepting them and discussing it, they said that they are willing to use the resources they have as a bargaining chip to unite our cerulean planet lord, to build a federation kingdom governed equally by our cerulean planet lord in them. Military industry lord. This way, they can also restore their country, and we can step into the kingdom-level lord faction in advance. Military industry lord. This Tribulation of All Races event really lives up to its name. I'll be honest with His Majesty, even though I'm now one of the top lords on the cerulean planet, I'm not confident that I can last until the end of this Tribulation of All Races event. Military industry lord. I agreed for the sake of my subjects and my future. Chapter 653 Zhou's Condition. The confused military industry lord. When the military industry lord mentioned discussing this matter, his face turned slightly red. In fact, the descendants of kingdoms who had the resources of kingdoms, or even heroes, had originally wanted to dominate the federal countries in the beginning. Facing this situation, the military industry lord and the others did not think of a way to deal with it at first. Even in search of survival, some of the higher-ups of the alliance even suggested that they might as well obey their suggestion and compromise for the time being. In any case, who could say for sure what would happen in the future? But at this moment, a higher-up of the military industry alliance suddenly had an idea and asked if he should pull the banner of the Lord of the Blazing Sun to boost their confidence. Even if he did not convince the other party in the end, he might be able to fight for more benefits and rights. With the intention of giving it a try, they told them in the next meeting that the Lord of the Blazing Sun was of the same race. They even thickened their skin and said that His Majesty the Blazing Sun was actually their backer. In the end, they were stunned. After hearing that the Lord of the Blazing Sun was their race and backer, the attitude of these descendants of the kingdom, who were originally quite arrogant, actually changed drastically. They were even willing to treat him as an equal. Only then did the military industry lord and the others realize that the Lord of the Blazing Sun from the cerulean planet actually had such an astonishing reputation and status in the eyes of the life forms of the high continent, especially the human life forms. Lords of the cerulean planet were already smug that they had some initial acquaintance diplomacy with kingdom-level forces. He did not know that the Lord of the Blazing Sun had already achieved such a high reputation status outside. On the other side, Zhou cursed in his heart when he heard the military industry lord's words. He had to admit that he was jealous. It was so easy to obtain the resources and heroes to build a kingdom. In comparison, his act of building a kingdom with his own hands was simply a model among the lords. However, when he thought about how the military industry lord would not receive any good rewards, even if he built a kingdom, as the first person to eat the benefits of establishing a kingdom-level lord faction, he felt much better. He had to give others some soup, right? Zhou reminded himself, and gradually calmed down, and began to think about how much benefits this matter would bring him. He now had 5 kingdom tokens. Among them, he would use the epic tier elementary grade kingdom token of the Ice Demon Kingdom to build an intermediate kingdom in the future. The other 4 kingdom tokens came from the 4 beginner kingdoms: Aurora Kingdom, Original Tan, Original Titan, and Original Netherbark. He could sell one to the other party. In any case, there was no point in keeping it. As for using the additional kingdom token to build an additional kingdom as his subsidiary kingdom, this was not beneficial to him at all. If he had the time and energy, he might as well focus on developing the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Zhou thought for a moment and typed, "Lord of the Blazing Sun, I can sell you a kingdom token, but what can you give me?" After Zhou sent it, he waited for a long time before the other party sent a message. Military Industry Lord, what does His Majesty want? Lord of the Blazing Sun, what do you have? Military Industry Lord, we have recently figured out a portion of the manufacturing process for nuclear-level arms. After appraising it, we realized that it has the destructive power of a low-tier deity. I wonder if Your Majesty needs it. The military industry lord was a little helpless when he raised this condition. This was originally their greatest trump card. However, the industrial foundation needed to make a nuclear weapon was too much and too broad. Coupled with the current situation, he could only use it as a bargaining chip, hoping that the other party would take a fancy to it. Zhou was a little surprised. He actually created arms of that level so quickly. Zhou thought for a moment and typed, Lord of the Blazing Sun, not enough. Lord of the Blazing Sun, what you're talking about is just a half-finished product. It's not even a half-finished product. It's just a production method. Its production requires very professional talents. I don't have anyone in this field. I can't make it even if you give it to me. I can, but this alone isn't enough. Zhou had the ultimate lord, Zhou, Wuxia, and a series of robot armies. After obtaining the production method and gathering enough materials, there was a high chance of making nuclear weapons. However, he naturally could not expose his background so easily. He would bargain first. Military Industry Lord, I knew His Majesty wouldn't fancy such things. There's another benefit. After the Holy Army Kingdom is established, our Holy Army Kingdom and the Cerulean Planet Lord of the Military Industry Alliance, under my command, will follow His Majesty the Blazing Sun's lead in the future. Military Industry Lord, if Your Majesty needs any Cerulean Planet technology arms, we can provide complete and detailed manufacturing blueprints and corresponding military manufacturing talents for free. Military Industry Lord, we can also become His Majesty's substitute factory. If His Majesty needs orders for Cerulean Planet arms, we can provide arms manufacturing and later maintenance services to His Majesty at an absolute cost price. Military Industry Lord, in addition, if you encounter the Lord's territory of our Military Industry Alliance during the development of your territory, the Lord of our Military Industry Alliance can directly give up his status as a Lord and offer the territory to you with both hands. Zhou raised his eyebrows. This military industry lord was really willing to spend a lot of money. Lord of the Blazing Sun, can you make decisions for those two sides? Military industry lord, I have to make a decision even if you can't. Now is not the time to be willful. Zhou was silent. It seemed that the Military Industry Alliance was really not in a good situation. Still, Lord of the Blazing Sun, it's still not enough. The military industry lord originally thought that his sacrifice was great enough, but when he saw Zhou's reply, he could not help but feel angry no matter how good his temper was. Wasn't His Majesty of the Blazing Sun going too far? He had already given him everything he could, but this Emperor of the Blazing Sun was still not satisfied? He already had the thought of retreating. He no longer had any other assets after all. However, at most, He would discuss with the other top cerulean planet lords and see if they could join forces. Even though the other cerulean planet lords were not doing well either, it was very difficult for them to support each other, even if they joined forces. However, it was still a path that could be tried. At this moment, the Lord of the Blazing Sun sent another message. Lord of the Blazing Sun, you came to ask me for the kingdom token. The descendant of that kingdom should have lost the kingdom token, right? Lord of the Blazing Sun, you've already sacrificed so much. Why don't you let the other party pay a little too? Lord of the Blazing Sun, tell the descendants of that kingdom that if you want to exchange for the kingdom token in my hands, you can take out 1/3 of the country's wealth. This way, I will hand over my kingdom token with both hands. Military Industry City. The military industry lord looked at the text sent by Zhou in shock. There was only one thought left in his mind. Why was his appetite so big? 1/3 of the kingdom's wealth. How could he think of that? The military industry lord's expression was gloomy for a long time. Then he replied, let me try asking. Then he went to contact the descendants of the kingdom. A moment later, the military industry lord walked out of a temporary palace in a daze. Because, facing the harsh conditions given by the Lord of the Blazing Sun, that descendant of the kingdom actually agreed, after only thinking for a moment? And he looked very excited. What was going on? Could it be that the king of the Blazing Sun had eaten the fruit of his pride? He actually agreed to such a huge matter so easily. At this moment, the military industry lord felt that his worldview had been overturned. Chapter 654 Yellow Gold Tier Lord Talent. Trashman the military industry lord told Zhou this result in a daze. Zhou was also quite surprised. Lord of the Blazing Sun, is the descendant of that kingdom a man or a woman? Military industry lord male. The military industry lord replied subconsciously. Zhou nodded inwardly when he saw the reply. Zhou nodded inwardly when he saw the reply. It shouldn't be the same for men. Military industry lord, by the way. Military industry lord. That descendant of the kingdom also has a small request. Military industry lord. He said that he wants to visit you if there's a chance in the future. The military industry lord thought of this, and hurriedly said to Zhou. Zhou agreed without hesitation, giving him 1/3 of the wealth of his kingdom. So what if they met? If every descendant of a wandering kingdom had such an awareness, he was willing to meet them every day. Then, Zhou and the military industry lord chatted about some specific matters about this matter. As there was more to talk about, the two of them simply turned on the voice chat. In terms of the content of the conversation, for example, the descendant of that kingdom was from a descendant called the Holy Roman Kingdom, Eston. The Holy Army Kingdom, that the military industry lord had mentioned just now was the name of the future federal kingdom that he and Eston had discussed. Other than that, they also chatted about the specific division of power between the military industry alliance and the Eston faction. Due to the Emperor Heart's skill, Zhou had the inheritance of many emperors' ways of handling matters. Therefore, he had a deep understanding of the Federation Kingdom mentioned by the military industry lord. Therefore, during the conversation, Zhou pointed out many mistakes in the military industry lord's words and easily provided many solutions. He even mentioned many examples. When the military industry lord heard Zhou's persuasive theory, he was so shocked that he was speechless. Your Majesty, may I ask what your background was before you came to the High Continent? Normal working class. Ah, the military industry lord's mouth was wide open in disbelief. Are you kidding me? Working class? How can the working class have your knowledge? Based on your comments and opinions just now, the military industry lord even suspected that the other party had transmigrated from the previous emperor era? Otherwise, why would there be so many practical theories that could empathize with him? However, seeing that Zhou had no intention of explaining further, the military industry lord was smart enough not to ask further. A moment later, their conversation came to an end. The military industry lord looked unsatisfied. Zhou was a little impatient. Why was this military industry lord like a block of wood? His brain was all focused on technology. Jojo said, "Let's talk next time," and hung up. Unexpectedly, the other party sent another message. Military Industry Lord. Your Majesty, I want to ask you about establishing a kingdom. Before looking for you, I had discussed it with other top lords, including the Overlord Lord, the Dragon Lady Lord, the Undead Lord, and other lords. Military Industry Lord. They actually have the idea of building a kingdom. I wonder if you... Perhaps it was because he had admitted that Jojo was his direct superior. The Military Industry Lord's tone became cautious. When Jojo saw the message, he immediately understood what the other party meant. He casually typed a reply. Lord of the Blazing Sun. You decide what to say and what not to say. However, if they really want to exchange for the kingdom token in my hands, fine. Bring at least the value you just paid and come find me. Lord of the Blazing Sun. I have limited kingdom tokens. First come, first served. Military Industry Lord. Yes, Your Majesty. The Military Industry Lord could not help but click his tongue. It seemed that His Majesty was going to make a killing this time. For some reason, he actually felt a little happy. If these top-notch lords wanted to survive this event, they had to build a kingdom and use the power and resources of the kingdom to coordinate all the forces that could be used. Therefore, they had to buy His Majesty's kingdom token even if they wanted to. He thought of something interesting. The Military Industry Lord smiled. On the other side, Jojo did not pay much attention to it after closing the chat interface. Even though the Dragon Lady Lord was once a competitor he valued when he was weak, the difference between the two sides could be said to be worlds apart. Jojo no longer minded what had happened back then. Then, he took out 10 white silver tier Lord Talent crystal fragments and fused them into a white silver tier Lord Talent Origin Divine crystals to upgrade the Scavenger to a white silver tier Lord Talent. Lord Talent, Scavenger, white silver tier. Scavenger. As an old scavenger, you already have an almost innate intuition towards the treasures within a radius of 10,000 meters around you. You can acutely sense the location of the treasures. At the same time, the treasures you have collected can be used for twice the time if they have characteristics such as time limit or endurance. When you extract the loot from the corpse, the drop rate will increase by an additional 10%. Jojo. He had a toothache. The effect of this upgraded Lord Talent had indeed increased. Whether it was the increase in the range from 1,000 meters to 10,000 meters, or the increase in the drop rate from 5% to 10%, it was a huge increase for others. But to Jojo, what he wanted the most was an increase in time use. He looked at his Lord Talent fragment storage and realized that it could still be upgraded to yellow gold tier. However, he could not continue charging at the white platinum tier. There was no hesitation. Jojo used another 10 yellow gold tier Lord Talent crystal fragments to fuse into a yellow gold tier Lord Talent Origin Divine crystals and upgrade the Scavenger to the yellow gold tier. Lord Talent, Trashman yellow gold tier. Scavenger. You are the leader of the Scavengers, a famous trash man. You, who is quite talented in picking up trash, already have an almost innate intuition towards the treasures within a 100-kilometer radius of you. You can acutely sense the location of the treasures. At the same time, if the treasure you collected has characteristics such as time limit or endurance, you can use your rich experience to find a way to extend the usage of this treasure. It can be extended by up to 3 times. When you extract the loot from the corpse, the drop rate will increase by an additional 15%. Jojo raised his eyebrows. The Scavenger had been upgraded to Trash Man. Is this considered an upgrade? Jojo shook his head. He looked at the upgraded Lord Talent and smiled. He had finally upgraded to what he needed. Another increase. The range of perception had increased from 10,000 meters to 100 kilometers. It was also 10 times stronger. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. As for the final 15% drop rate, it could basically be ignored. He immediately took out the Bodhi Supreme. As he watched, a text notification gradually appeared in front of him. Trashman Talent hint. As an experienced trashman, you vaguely feel that this seed-like treasure seems to have a life of its own, and is constantly emitting a rich desire for knowledge. The desire for knowledge? Zhou raised his eyebrows. Chapter 655 Use Dispelling Questions. Wunya. Zhou suddenly said. Wunya is here, Your Majesty. Wunya's gentle voice appeared in the room. Take out the bloodline inheritances I recorded previously. He said. Yes, Your Majesty. After Wunya finished speaking, a large number of virtual texts slowly appeared around Zhou. All kinds of bloodline inheritances were recorded on these virtual texts, as if they were free. Zhou did not notice this. His gaze had been on the Bodhi Supreme in his hand. The next second, under Zhou's surprised gaze, the Bodhi Supreme that had been motionless suddenly moved slightly after these bloodline inheritances appeared. Then it floated in the air. Wisps of golden light emitted from the golden patterns on its surface, looking mysterious, dazzling, and eye-catching. This light landed on the virtual text. With every virtual text that recorded the bloodline inheritance, the golden light on the surface of the Bodhi Supreme became brighter. At the same time, the virtual text that was scanned disappeared, as if it had been absorbed by the Bodhi Supreme. Zhou did not care. It was just a replicated virtual text. Wunya could make as many of these things as she wanted. After these virtual texts were absorbed by the Bodhi Supreme, the light on his body gradually dimmed. Zhou said without hesitation. Next batch. A new batch of virtual texts recording the bloodline inheritance appeared in the air around Zhou. Seeing this, the Bodhi Supreme was like a child who had seen delicious snacks. The light on his body immediately lit up again. Then he began to absorb these bloodline inheritances again. After 7 to 8 such experiences, the bloodline inheritance that Zhou had recorded was finally absorbed by Bodhi Supreme. He looked at Bodhi Supreme. He did not know if it was an illusion, but he could actually feel that it was not done yet. Don't be anxious. Tomorrow, I'll continue to engrave the bloodline inheritance and let you eat your fill. Zhou comforted him, as he was secretly shocked by this fellow's bottomless pit. He felt that the other party was like a big rice bucket. The Bodhi Supreme floating in the air seemed to have a life of its own. It moved slightly when it heard Zhou's words before landing in his hand again. Zhou looked over expectantly. Treasure name, Bodhi Supreme. Treasure grade, mythical tier. Treasure effect 1, no doubts. With the Bodhi Supreme in your hand, ask the Bodhi Supreme the question in your heart. The Bodhi Supreme will give you an answer. Current number of questions answered. 1/3, prompt 1. After the enhancement of your scavenger talent, the current number of questions answered by the Bodhi Supreme has increased to 2/3, prompt 2. The Bodhi Supreme is satisfied with your feeding and is willing to answer an ordinary question for you. Current number of normal questions answered. 1/1. Treasure effect 2, Bodhi heart. With the Bodhi Supreme in your hand, your comprehension ability will increase greatly. Treasure description. A mythical tier treasure personally created by the Supreme Will. It can resolve all the doubts in the world. Zhou looked a little excited when he saw the update on the treasure. Not bad, not bad. Even though it only increased the number of normal questions, however, at the very least, it proved that his trashy lord talent provided him with a feasible method to increase the use duration. Moreover, who knew what kind of range of problems the normal problems in the eyes of the Bodhi Supreme covered? The opportunity to answer this normal question was definitely quite precious. Use this method to increase the number of times Bodhi Supreme can be used. I'm afraid only I and the other high-level bloodline races with a large amount of bloodline inheritance can do it. Zhou came back to his senses and was secretly rejoicing. He did not expect this either. His bloodline inheritance could actually be useful in this aspect. He thought for a moment and decided to use the normal question first to see the specific effect. In any case, there were still many bloodline inheritances in his mind. This ordinary question was not a big deal. He held the Bodhi Supreme in his hand and was about to ask something when a lazy voice that sounded like a man and a woman sounded. Human, what question do you want to ask? This was the Bodhi Supreme? Zhou was surprised. Even though he had previously learned that the Bodhi Supreme had his own wisdom, will through the illusory life race, and had even made an agreement with Patriarch Shirluo back then, however, This was the first time he had come into contact with the intelligence, well, that was born from the treasure. I want to ask, what's the difference between normal questions and answering questions? Zhou did not waste his breath, and asked in his heart. Normal problems are just some not-so-secret problems. Even though these normal questions do not involve the most secret of secrets of the myriad worlds, they will still be answers that some high-level bloodline races have been pursuing bitterly but can't obtain. As for answering questions, its scope is huge. Basically, as long as there are questions in the myriad worlds, and there are answers to them, I can answer almost all of them for you. Not only that, but if there's a need, it'll also give the inquirer some benefits that can assist in clearing his doubts. For example, when I was answering an illusory fate race member's doubts previously, that illusory fate race member asked me if I could resolve its predicament. After answering his questions, I gave him a set of blood seal technique. Almost. Zhou acutely sensed this word. Ayaya, you discovered me. Of course, in the current world I basically know everything. However, I was created by the Supreme Will after all. As you cerulean planet people or Earthlings have said, Bodhi has no choice in the pugilistic world. If the Supreme Will doesn't want me to reveal some secrets, I can only choose not to. As the Bodhi Supreme spoke, he sounded helpless as if his talent had been delayed by the Supreme Will. It sounded like he deserved a beating. Zhou nodded on the surface. He was a little shocked. He could actually tell at a glance that I was a transmigrator, as expected of the omniscient Bodhi Supreme. Moreover, from the other party's calm tone, were transmigrators not rare in this world? Zhou instantly thought of many things. He pondered for a long time before coming back to his senses. He looked at the Bodhi Supreme in his hand and said seriously, "Sorry for the inconvenience." "Thank you very much. Bodhi Supreme, I want to use that opportunity to clear my doubts." "Ask away." Bodhi Supreme said lazily. "May I ask what path of laws I should use to become a god spirit in the future?" "You don't know." "Should I know?" "It's on you. You actually don't know?" "Ha ha ha ha. You're teasing me to death." Bodhi Supreme laughed out loud, as if he had heard something extremely funny. Zhou's expression darkened. This Bodhi Supreme, his personality was really bad. But then again, this Bodhi Supreme's answer was exactly the same as the hint given to him by the Supreme Will. Chapter 656 Lord Law. Alright, I won't laugh at you anymore. Bodhi Supreme composed himself and replied leisurely. It's not your fault. It's the #1 law path among the endless laws after all. Even those high-level bloodline races will find it difficult to see its appearance, let alone you. What kind of law is it? When Zhou heard the other party's words, his eyes lit up and he immediately asked. Idiot, the strongest method you've used to reach this point is also the strongest law path you have. It's naturally yours. Many Lord Talents. Zhou could not help but tremble. Lord Talents. When he heard this word, Zhou immediately felt the fog that enveloped the path ahead disappear almost instantly. It was as if a light suddenly illuminated the future path that he had been searching for a long time, but had not found. However, Zhou still had a question. Lord Talent. Isn't it a personal talent? Zhou asked doubtfully. Most of the innate talents of life forms are manifestations of endless laws on life forms. It can also be said to be an ability that simplifies laws billions of times. Therefore, talent tracing back to the extreme is the law. You're very lucky. From the beginning, you became one of the few lords chosen by heaven with a complete Lord Talent. Even though your legendary tier Lord Talent, 100% drop rate back, then was not the top Lord Talent among the many Lord Talents. But it is the best prerequisite for this path of laws. Especially after you upgraded it to the mythical tier, unique grade Lord Talent, King of Loots, this prerequisite for underwent an extreme transformation. If the path to this supreme law requires talent, then you, who has this strongest prerequisite are the strongest talent owner. And it's foreseeable that your talent will continue to increase after you obtain more Lord Talents in the future. No matter how bad the Bodhi Supreme's personality was, his evaluation of Zhou's talent was quite high. Zhou was not proud. After all, Talent was only a talent. It was useless no matter how talented he was if he did not become the last lord of all races. Just as an old saying went, a dead genius was not a genius. What's the name of this path of laws? Zhou asked. You can call it the Lord's Law, or the Supreme Law, the Control Law, the Control Law, the God's Law, the Original Law. There are many names. It's up to you. Bodhi Supreme said. Zhou thought for a moment. Since he targeted the Lord of all races, he would call it the Lord's Law. How should I comprehend the Lord's Law? How should I comprehend the Lord's Law? That's another problem. Bodhi Supreme said leisurely. Normal question or answer question? Zhou immediately asked. Let's see what answer you want. If it's a normal question, I can at most hint you with some methods verbally. However, if it's an answer at the enlightenment level, not only can I hint you with some methods verbally, I can also give you good things like the blood restriction and the heaven-sealing void life concealment technique, allowing you to master the method to directly reach the Lord's Law. Bodhi Supreme tempted. Zhou's expression was strange. This Bodhi Supreme, why did he look like the kind of person who wanted to tell him his secret, but did not want to say it himself? Instead, he wanted others to take the initiative to ask for guidance. I want to dispel my doubts. Zhou did not think too much about it, and said in a low voice. Wise choice. Bodhi Supreme praised and said. To you, you have two innate conditions to comprehend the Lord's Law. The first is to casually choose one of the large number of Lord Talent crystal fragments you have, and comprehend the incomplete Lord Law, that is billions of times simpler. However, this method is a little worse than the second method. The second method is to start with the Lord Talent you have, and comprehend the Lord Laws within. The second method is to start with the Lord Talent you have, and comprehend the Lord Laws within. However, you can't bite off more than you can chew at the beginning. You have to start comprehending from your lowest level Lord Talent. It's too complicated a Lord's Law. You won't understand it. Bodhi Supreme reminded. Zhou nodded thoughtfully. At this moment, however, Bodhi Supreme's tone changed and he said, there are billions of existences in the endless heavens who have the Lord Talent. But do you know why, after countless years, very few or even almost no experts in the myriad worlds are famous for the Lord Law? Why? Zhou also realized this problem. There were countless bloodline inheritances in his mind. However, he only realized a problem now. None of the bloodline inheritances in his mind mentioned anything about the Lord's Law, not to mention a God spirit that had become a god with the Lord's Law. It was as if even those top-notch bloodline races did not know the existence of the Lord Law. It was unbelievable just thinking about it. That's naturally because there is an extremely high threshold to sense the Lord's Law. If you can't cross this threshold, not to mention becoming a god with the Lord's Law, even living beings with high talent can't sense the existence of the Lord's Law. You have so many Lord Talents on you, but don't you feel anything about the Lord Law? You have so many Lord Talents on you, but don't you feel anything about the Lord Law? I'll teach you a secret technique now. If you learn this secret technique, you can feel the existence of the Lord's Law. The name of this mystic technique is Supreme Eye. Listen carefully. Then, the Bodhi Supreme explained the Supreme Eye mystic technique tirelessly. Zhou closed his eyes and listened to the mystic technique worn by the Bodhi Supreme. Gradually, white fog emitted from his body and condensed above his head. A moment later, a circular pure white eye floated above Zhou's head. If the Black Moon King was still alive, he would probably be able to tell at a glance that this pure white eye was the phenomenon of the world that appeared when he faced the Supreme Will. However, compared to a phenomenon of that level, at this moment, the Supreme Eye above Zhou's head was much smaller. Moreover, it did not have that supreme and terrifying heavenly might. There was no time freeze or spatial distance astronomical phenomenon. At the same time, Zhou realized that when he used this Supreme Eye, his perspective seemed to have suddenly changed from a first-person perspective to a god's perspective. Not only could he observe everything around him from 360 degrees, without any blind spots, moreover, he could see things that most life forms could not. For example, Zhou moved the Supreme Eye and looked down at his body. It was as if he had X-ray vision and could see straight into his body. In his body, colorful mystical law engravings spread throughout his body. It was as if he had seen the most profound and fundamental thing in the world, making him unable to help but be addicted. He looked at these secrets of the mysterious laws. He suddenly seemed to understand something. This is the law that controls everything. This is the supreme path. This is a Lord's law, Zhou muttered to himself. Chapter 657 Black Iron Tier Lord Talent. Hand of Wealth. Zhou's gaze landed on the profound patterns on his body. These law engravings that represented the Lord's laws were many and varied. They looked very scattered, as if they were independent. However, if one looked closely, they would discover that they were actually vaguely similar in nature, but they differed in the division of labor. Zhou controlled the crowd control supreme eye, and his gaze landed on the largest Lord Talent law engraving in his body. This Lord nomological secret pattern was 9-colored and looked extremely noble, as if it contained a world. As soon as they came into contact, Zhou knew what the Lord's law was. It was his most powerful Lord Talent, mythical tier, one and only Lord Talent, King of Lutes. It represented the secret laws. Zhou was naturally the most confident in this Lord Talent that had followed him for the longest time. After he came into contact with it, he subconsciously went deeper and prepared to comprehend this law engraving. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. He had completely forgotten the Bodhi Supreme's reminder. A moment later, he retracted his consciousness from the King of Lutes' nomological secret engravings with a dumbfounded expression. After his consciousness entered it, he was like a child who had never gone to school and suddenly saw an academician-level scientific research paper. He didn't and could not understand it at all. I told you to start from the lowest level Lord Talent, but you didn't listen. Are you dumbfounded? Did he really think that it was so easy to comprehend an ultimate maxim? Bodhi Supreme mocked mercilessly. Zhou was so embarrassed that he did not know what to do. I was wrong. I'll comprehend the lowest level Lord Talent now. Zhou was not stubborn. He looked at the nomological patterns, represented by the smallest Lord Talent. Soon, his gaze landed on a Lord Talent that was emitting a bronze glow. It was the green bronze tier Lord Talent Beauty. It was one of his few green bronze tier Lord Talents. It was all thanks to this Lord Talent that so many refugees could come from thousands of miles away to join his territory every day. His consciousness was immersed in it. A moment later, a slight frown creased his brow. The Bodhi Supreme was right. A low-level Lord Talent was indeed easier to comprehend. Still, Zhou was so embarrassed that he did not know what to do. Even the green bronze tier Lord Talent was very difficult for him to comprehend. The only thing that made Zhou happy was, he had really comprehended a little of the profundity of the Lord's laws. For example, this beauty Lord Talent. After a while of comprehension, he vaguely understood how this Lord Talent had unknowingly improved the looks of the subjects. According to this progress, he continued to comprehend. Perhaps in another 10 days or 8 days, he could change a person's appearance without relying on his Lord Talent. It could even improve one's figure and temperament in all aspects that affected one's appearance. Sensing this, Zhou looked excited. I say, what are you so happy about? At this moment, the Bodhi Supreme threw another merciless voiceover. Zhou opened his eyes and looked at Bodhi Supreme. Bodhi Supreme lectured again. For the Lord Talent, you're just a kid who can't even remember the numbers. Now, instead of studying the kindergarten curriculum, you're thinking of skipping grades to study the first and second grade curriculum. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Bodhi Supreme did not stand on ceremony. Zhou nodded. He wasn't angry. That was because he knew that the other party was right. With his current understanding of the Lord's law, it was indeed a little too difficult to start with the green bronze tier Lord Talent. However, the black iron tier Lord Talent that he had previously had long been upgraded. Since that was the case, Zhou flipped his right hand and took out 10 black iron tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. Then, he fused them into a black iron tier Lord Talent origin divine crystals. He looked over. A text notification appeared. Treasure name, Lord Talent Sphere. Hand of Wealth treasure grade, Black Iron Tier, Treasure Effect. After absorbing it, the Lord will have the Black Iron, Tier Lord Talent, Hand of Wealth. Treasure Description: a Lord Talent sphere purified by the Supreme Will. You can obtain a yellow gold Tier Lord Talent after absorbing it. Since I don't have the Black Iron Tier Lord Talent, I can only create a Black Iron Tier Lord Talent on the spot. Zhou looked at this Lord Talent and thought to himself. Actually, with the Lord Talent crystal fragment he could completely create a large number of low-level Lord Talents. But he understood that no matter how many low-level Lord Talents he had, they could not compare to the benefits that a high-level Lord Talent would bring him. In addition, upgrading other high-level Lord Talents required a large number of low-level Lord Talent crystal fragments to synthesize. Therefore, he had never used these low-level Lord Talent crystal fragments. However, this situation was different. It was fine to use a few pieces. He directly chose to absorb the 27th Lord Talent without hesitation. Soon he finished absorbing it. Then, he looked at the talent information of this Lord Talent. Lord Talent. Hand of Wealth, Black Iron Tier. Specific Talent Effect 1. With the Hand of Wealth in hand, scoop into the void and you can randomly obtain 1 to 100 Black Iron Tier Mist Cores. This talent effect can be used once a day. Specific Talent Effect 2. When you and your subject extract the spoils of war from the corpse, there is a 1% chance of obtaining an additional Mist Core equivalent to the corpse's strength realm. After reading it, Zhou shook his head. He might be very interested in this Lord Talent if he had just descended to the High Continent. But now, he could harvest hundreds or thousands of legendary tier Mist Cores every day. He was naturally not interested in such a weak increase in the drop of the Mist Core. However, this Lord Talent effect is quite useless. But it can be used to comprehend the Lord's law contained in it. Zhou thought to himself. Then he closed his eyes and entered the Supreme Eye's perspective again to observe his body. Soon, he found the Black Iron Tier Lord Talent that represented the Hand of Wealth. His consciousness was immersed in it, and a smile appeared on his face. Not bad. Even though it was still difficult to comprehend the nomological secret engravings of the Black Iron Tier Lord Talent, he could at least comprehend them normally. He saw his body in reality holding the Bodhi Supreme. At this moment, Zhou immediately felt that his comprehension had improved greatly again. Previously, Zhou had found it somewhat strenuous to comprehend the nomological engravings. Now he no longer felt any difficulty at all. Comprehending the Black Iron level law engravings was as natural as eating and drinking. When Bodhi Supreme saw this scene, he praised the human in front of him. As expected of the Chaos humans, he could actually comprehend this Supreme Lord's law normally, even though he had the enhancement of the Bodhi heart, and could only comprehend the Black Iron Lord Talent law engravings. However, as long as the Lord in front of him took his time, the speed at which he comprehended the Lord Talent's nomological patterns would become faster and faster. In fact, it was not impossible for him to become a god spirit with achievements with the Lord's law in the future. Chapter 658. Taking out a portrait of Grandpa Mao? The sky gradually darkened. In a cultivation room in the advanced grade Lord's paradise, a handsome man in the Emperor Dragon robe was sitting cross-legged on a mat and cultivating. This person was naturally Zhou, and above his head, a circular eye emitting a pure white light was focused on Zhou's body. This round pupil reflected the Black Iron law engravings, looking a little mysterious. A moment later, the pure white round pupil disappeared. Zhou, who was sitting cross-legged on the mat, slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with fatigue, and his face was a little pale. He looked like he had used up too much energy. I didn't expect that comprehending the Lord's laws would consume so much of my essence, energy and spirit. Especially after using the Bodhi Supreme, the consumption has actually doubled. Now, I feel like I've stayed up for 3 to 4 nights when I was an ordinary person. Zhou took a deep breath. The Lord's law was indeed the strongest law that governed everything. So he wanted to continue using the Bodhi Supreme to increase his comprehension. The Bodhi Supreme had added too much to his comprehension. The difference in comprehension between him holding the Bodhi Supreme and him not holding it was 10 times. or even greater. One had to know that he was a chaos human to begin with. He had a racial talent that greatly increased his perception, such as the high-level chaos core. But even so, he had actually been enhanced by the Bodhi Supreme so much. It could be seen that the Bodhi Supreme was top-notch. With a top-grade treasure like Bodhi Supreme, he would definitely be able to greatly increase his efficiency in comprehending the Lord's laws. With a flip of his right hand, he took out a bottle of Epic Tier Intermediate Restoration Potion and a bottle of Epic Tier Soul Restoration Potion. Then, he uncorked the bottle and drank it in one gulp. After tasting it for a while, he realized that his energy and soul fatigue had recovered slightly, but it was not as much as his chaos human constitution's self-recovery. He shook his head and gave up on taking the medicine. Then he thought of something and smiled. He raised his right hand. The next second, his entire right arm was emitting a faint black iron light. Just like that, he raised his right hand and extended it into the void, until his arm completely disappeared into the void. Right on the heels of that, he made a rummaging motion. Soon, he seemed to have grabbed onto something as he retracted his right hand from the depths of the void. Then, with a flip of his right hand, some black iron tier mist cores appeared in his hand. 23 black iron tier mist cores. Tsk, my luck isn't too good, Zhou muttered to himself. These 23 black iron tier mist cores were obtained by him through the Hand of Wealth, Lord Talent, that he had just obtained. Even though there were very few of them, Zhou did not mind. The next step is the most important. Zhou took a deep breath. His expression turned solemn. He raised his right hand and looked at it. Whoosh! Invisible nomological fluctuations rippled around him. This nomological fluctuation was extremely unstable. It was like a kite controlled by a newbie. It could leave his hand at any time, causing the kite to fail. Drops of sweat appeared on Zhou's forehead. He was trying his best to control the laws around him and condense them in his right hand. A moment later, boom! Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. A soul-piercing explosion sounded. The dermic power fluctuations around Zhou suddenly became chaotic. Then they suddenly exploded and dissipated. Zhou's expression was calm. It was just that his attempt had failed. He didn't say anything and tried again. 2 hours later, Zhou continued to use the Lord's Law, but all of them failed without exception. Fortunately, such a failure would not cause any damage to Zhou's body. It would only make him more tired. It was just exhaustion. Naturally, he could not stop Zhou's enthusiasm for the Lord's laws. Therefore, he endured the double exhaustion of his spirit and body, and continued to practice even more seriously. The 67th attempt. Zhou took a deep breath as his body emitted invisible nomological fluctuations again. Then he forcefully retracted the nomological fluctuations towards his right arm. Soon, all the nomological fluctuations approached his right arm at a slow but firm speed and finally converged on it. At this moment, his right arm emitted an extremely faint black iron light. Zhou's expression remained solemn. He did not look smug at all. Retracting the nomological fluctuations to his right arm was something he could already do on the 35th time. However, the final step, which was to take the wealth from the void, was the most crucial part of his failure. He concentrated, raised his right arm, reached into the void and began to fish. A moment later, Zhou was delighted. This was because he felt that his right hand, which was engraved with the Lord Talent, seemed to have grabbed something. At this point, his expression became even more solemn. Zhou slowly retracted his right arm from the void. When his arm was completely retracted from the void, his expression immediately became ecstatic. It worked. It did not fail. He jumped up from the futon excitedly. Zhou is talented in the Lord's law as expected. Ha 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 ha. Zhou laughed out loud. While he did not show anything on the surface during the previous dozens of failures, he was about to doubt his life. Thankfully, the bitter end was over, and he finally succeeded. Success my ass. Let's see what you're holding. At this moment, Bodhi Supreme's voice sounded again. Zhou was stunned. He had a bad feeling and looked at his right hand. He was holding a red note tightly in his hand. He opened it and was dumbfounded. Grandpa Mao. He looked left and right. No matter how he looked at it, he felt that this was a piece of Grandpa Mao. How am I going to take out one of Grandpa Mao's? Zhou was at a loss. This is considered a normal problem. Bodhi Supreme said, "I'll record new knowledge for you tonight." Zhou said, "Okay." The Bodhi Supreme was still very passionate about knowledge, especially the bloodline inheritance of this human, who had grasped many high-level bloodline inheritances. It was still very envious, because it knew a lot, but for some reason, most of the things it knew did not really belong to it. That was why it craved the knowledge that belonged to it. According to my observation, when you were applying the law engravings just now, in terms of wealth, you subconsciously thought of your Wuxia currency. This is actually very easy to understand. You've only been in the higher continent for a short period of time after all. The impression that Miss Kaur gave you is naturally far less than the impression that Grandpa Mao gave you. After all, the latter has accompanied you for more than 20 years. Try a few more times in the future, and you'll get the Miss Kaur. Is that so? Zhou looked hesitant. He still felt a little dreamy about obtaining this picture of Grandpa Mao from the void. Chapter 659 The Omnipotent Lord Law. A strong enemy is attacking. Where did I get Grandpa Mao from? Zhou suddenly thought of this. This is another normal problem. I'll give them all to you in the future. Zhou's face darkened. This guy. Earth in the security vault of a certain rich man in China. Bodhi Supreme said in satisfaction. In other words, my hand just returned to Earth? Zhou glared at him. You were the one who used the power of the Lord's law to create the hand of wealth to go to Earth. Your main body is actually still on the high continent. Keep this picture of Grandpa Mao well. In the future, when you become stronger, you might be able to use this Grandpa Mao as the coordinates and return to your hometown through the spatial passageway opened by the hand of wealth. Bodhi Supreme said lazily. Zhou's mouth widened slightly. An important reason why he wanted to become the lord of all races was because he wanted to return to his hometown. They did not expect. He already had an approximate method, even though the hand of wealth had only returned to the cerulean planet and not his main body. However, this also made Zhou excited enough. There was hope for the future after all. After coming back to his senses, Zhou felt more and more how terrifying this Lord's Law was. This Lord Law is simply like the source code of the myriad worlds. He muttered to himself. The act of withdrawing the money just now reminded him of some open-world game he had played in the past. As long as he entered a certain mysterious code, he could obtain money, weapons, equipment, and so on. That's right. If you completely master the Lord's Law, you will be an omnipotent God in the endless heavens. Bodhi Supreme encouraged. Zhou nodded. A black iron tier Lord Talent's nomological engraving gave him such a surprise ability. If one grasped the top-notch Lord Law, or even the complete Lord Law, it was indeed not a problem to say that he was omnipotent. After that, he did not continue to comprehend the Lord Talent Law engravings. Instead, he planned to rest. He was too tired. If he wanted to continue comprehending, he would probably have to rest until tomorrow. Originally, he wanted to use the Eye of the Heavens anger again, after asking the Bodhi Supreme his questions. From the looks of it, it was better to think about it tomorrow. At this moment, Your Majesty, Prime Minister Zheng requests an audience. And the Prime Minister said that he has something important to report to His Majesty. Atli quickly walked over and reported to Zhou. Important matters? Zhou was stunned. Then he immediately asked Atli to bring Zheng Yuanqi over. Soon, Zheng Yuanqi arrived in front of Zhou. Your Majesty. About 10,000 kilometers away from the Blazing Sun Kingdom, a vast army of fog monsters is rushing towards the territory of our Blazing Sun Kingdom. Their total military strength is about 100 million. Zheng Yuanqi said solemnly. Zhou's pupils trembled. 100 million. Are you sure? He immediately asked. I've already gone and witnessed it myself. I'm very sure. Zheng Yuanqi looked like he was not joking. Zhou also realized the severity of the matter. 100 million fog monsters were definitely a terrifying combat power that could destroy his territory. However, he was still in disbelief. Even the total military strength of the fog monsters around the Night Empire was only about 1 billion. Moreover, not all of the total military strength of the billion fog monsters was dealing with the Night Empire. A considerable portion of the fog monster factions was dealing with the Lord factions around the Night Empire. What did he do to attract so many fog monster forces? I didn't feel much when I saw the Night Empire being besieged by the fog monster army. Now, the calamity of the tribulation of all races has finally landed on me. I can empathize now. But I'm not an Empire-level Lord faction. Is there a need to send so many mist legions to besiege me? Zhou muttered. At this moment, he finally felt the terrifying pressure this calamity brought to the forces of the myriad races on the high continent. What would happen to the other Lord factions if even he was feeling the pressure? How's the average strength of the other party? After pondering for a long time, Zhou asked in a low voice. The other party is also extremely strong. According to the images recorded by the scouts, there's no lack of extraordinary tier, epic tier, and even legendary tier high-level fog monsters in the other party's army. As for the God Spirit Scarlet God Spirits, the scouts haven't discovered them yet. Zheng Yuanqi said. Let me see the image. Zhou immediately said. Your Majesty, please take a look. Zheng Yuanqi took out a personal terminal created by Wenya's technology factory from his spatial ring. After opening a recording, he handed it to Zhou. Zhou took it and looked at it. He gradually frowned as he looked on. A moment later, Zhou returned the personal terminal to Zheng Yuanqi. A strong enemy, Zhou frowned. Ever since he came to the High Continent, other than the last demon lord he faced during the novice lord test, which gave him immense pressure, the fog monster army that came this time was the first enemy to give him such pressure. There were about 100 million fog monsters. There was no lack of extraordinary tier, epic tier, and even legendary tier Scarlet experts. Even the Scarlet God Spirits might be hidden among them. It was just that they might not have discovered it yet. Such terrifying strength. Even if Zhou gathered all his forces to fight him, he was not confident that he could win. It might even become the losing side, according to their marching speed. How long will it take them to reach the border of our Blazing Sun Kingdom? Zhou asked. Because they have a lot of troops. In addition, they will clear out the Lord's forces they pass along the way. I estimate that the fastest they can reach the border of our Blazing Sun Kingdom should be around tomorrow night. Zheng Yuanqi said. Zhou frowned slightly. Tomorrow night. There was too little time. If he was given another 5 days to develop, even if it was 3 days, he was confident that he could gather at least equivalent military strength to fight the other party head-on. However, Zhou was not so confident if he came over tomorrow night. Moreover, as a fog monster, night was their home ground. Zhou and the others' combat strength would decrease because they were not used to the fog at night. On the other hand, the other party's combat strength would increase because of the richness of the scarlet fog. Zhou took a deep breath. Prime Minister, gather all the combat professionals in the kingdom who are willing and capable of participating in the battle and form an endangered army. Take the meaning of accepting orders in times of danger. Arrange for the patrols and guards of various regional cities in the country before the fog monster forces attack. Also, recall Wu Tu and his heavenly army and ask him to temporarily stop the map exploration operation. Return to the back kingdom immediately and gather the corresponding war information with all your might. Inform the subjects in the country about the impending war, but don't say much. Just say that we will definitely win the war. Don't let the subjects in the country panic. That's the arrangement for the time being. If you have any suggestions, you can act according to the situation. But don't ask me too often and focus on efficiency. Zhou made arrangements. Chapter 660 War Gathering. There was no point in hiding it. A total of 100 million enemies had attacked. How could he hide this? Since that was the case, it was better to say it directly. He trusted Zheng Yuanqi's ability very much. He believed that Zheng Yuanqi could resolve this situation. Leave it to me, Your Majesty. Zheng Yuanqi said respectfully, just as Zhou Zhou thought. As an old man who had served as the prime minister of 2 countries, Zheng Yuanqi had seen all kinds of situations. At this moment, he already had a series of solutions in his heart. Still, most importantly, it still depended on victory on the main battlefield. Otherwise, they would lose on the main battlefield. It was useless no matter how well he arranged the rear. Zhou Zhou nodded. After arranging all of this, he felt much more at ease. A powerful army of about 100 million is not the best choice to fight head-on. I need to think of a way to weaken it first. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. After Zheng Yuanqi left, Zhou Zhou endured the fatigue in his soul and continued to record the various high-level bloodline inheritances in his mind. Zhou Zhou asked Wunya to record these high-level bloodline inheritances as teaching material to train the territory's personnel. On the other hand, he had also used it as payment for the 2 questions he had asked the Bodhi Supreme previously. After paying him, Zhou Zhou took out another high-level bloodline inheritance and handed it to the Bodhi Supreme, exchanging it for the number of times he asked an ordinary question. What question do you want to ask? Tell me. Bodhi Supreme said lazily. Why did the fog monster army approach my territory and specifically come to look for me? Or are they just on the way? Zhou Zhou asked. I'm naturally here to look for you. You're the strongest lord under the 2 activities of the Supreme Will after all. Even the Supreme Will favors you very much. It's not easy for these scarlet forces to come out and invade the high continent. How can they not come and capture you? Capture you and offer you to the Crimson Overlord. The Crimson Overlord will definitely give you a large number of rewards. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. Well, he was so famous in the 2 activities of the Supreme Will. It would be strange if the Scarlet Fog Monster forces, under the Crimson Overlord, did not react at all. There's another reason. They want your race divine artifact. At this moment, Bodhi Supreme reminded again. Race divine artifact? Zhou Zhou was stunned. You mean the lucky star? It's not just the lucky star. They also want the other 2 race divine artifacts in your hands. Bodhi Supreme said. Why do they need so many race divine artifacts? Could it be that they can use them? Zhou Zhou frowned. That's right. They have a pollution technique that can contaminate the race's divine artifact into a scarlet sacred artifact. This scarlet sacred artifact is similar to a race divine artifact, but there are no race restrictions. It can work on any scarlet fog monster. Their only limitation is that the range of the holy artifact effect is limited. Therefore, scarlet fog monsters yearn for the divine artifacts of any race. Zhou Zhou raised his eyebrows. Such a secret had never been mentioned in such detail, even for the high-level bloodline inheritances. As expected of the omniscient Bodhi Supreme. Thank you, I understand. Zhou Zhou nodded. It had to be said. It was convenient to have such an almost omniscient existence by his side. Moreover, this Bodhi Supreme was indeed very interesting, even though it always said that it would only answer one question. However, it would answer other derivative questions on this problem, in most cases, as long as it was still related to the question. I'm in love. At this moment, Zhou Zhou knew the other party's motive for coming and felt much more at ease. At this moment, a large number of footsteps suddenly came from outside. Zhou Zhou went out to take a look. Indeed, Bai Yun and the others were back. A moment later, in a study room in the advanced grade Lord's Paradise. In a study, Zhou Zhou sat at the desk and looked at the list of battles that Bai Yun had just brought over. Today they had killed a total of more than 86 million fog monsters and recaptured 33 extraordinary tier advanced grade spatial teleportation arrays, 7 epic tier advanced grade spatial teleportation arrays, and 3 legendary tier advanced grade spatial teleportation arrays. With the enhancement of the King of Loots and the title of the strongest lord, they had obtained a total of 2,360 legendary tier mist cores, 251,200 epic tier mist cores, 8,101,260 extraordinary tier mist cores, 42,503,900 diamond tier mist cores, 146,012,000 white platinum tier mist cores, more than 300 million yellow gold tier mist cores, more than 711 million white silver tier mist cores, and more than 106,000 green bronze tier mist cores. There were 2,016,990 skill books, and 2,878,100 pieces of equipment, 101,800 billion units of basic materials, 2 million units of basic elemental gem resources, 1 million units of high-level elemental gem resources, 320,000 origin crystals, 70,160 green bronze tier Lord Talent crystal fragments, 5 epic tier Lord Talent crystal fragments, 1 epic tier Scarlet Lord Talent sphere, 31 Holy Spirit tier Faith Divine crystals, 16 Hero Inheritance secret manuals, 3 books of the God Spirit, mid-tier deity level elementary grade, 3 extraordinary tier ancestor statues of the human race on Cerulean planet. In addition, under Zhou's special instructions, Bai Yun and the others also specially brought back the corpses of 21 legendary tier fog monsters and 3 low-tier deity-level elementary grade Scarlet God Spirits. These enemies were all killed and preserved by Bai Yun and the others who led the army today. Each of them could obtain God Spirit tier loots. This was the general situation of the loots. At this point, a smile appeared on Zhou's face. Putting everything else aside, for today's battle, in terms of the benefits of the mist cores alone, he had obtained a total of more than 150,000 legendary tier mist cores. In the future, he would no longer have to worry about not being able to afford the goods in the Lord shop. In addition, there were other loots such as the epic tier Scarlet Lord Talent sphere. They were also top grade. The epic tier Scarlet Lord Talent sphere surprised Zhou the most. This was because this meant that he would have another epic tier advanced Lord Talent today. This Lord Talent was enough to create a top Cerulean planet Lord when they had just descended. He was not in a hurry to use this Lord Talent sphere. Finally, in terms of the increase in the combat strength of the soldiers, the total number and strength of Zhou's soldiers had also increased greatly throughout the day. Apart from the 2,518,276 fog monsters that he had insight defection with the enhancement of the extraordinary tier insight defection, the 20% of the insight defection troops handed over to him by the Lord members of the Star Alliance had also reached 2,861,250 fog monsters. In total, there were 5,422,886 fog monsters. And now, excluding the forces of the Star Alliance, the total number of troops under Zhou had already reached 47,547,748. Among them were 3,353,682 Black Iron Tier soldiers, 6,001,806 million Green Bronze Tier soldiers, 10,028,900 White Silver Tier soldiers, 16,079,169 Yellow Gold Tier soldiers, 10,662,850 White Platinum Tier soldiers, 1,251,860 Diamond Tier, 168,850 Extraordinary Tier, 625 in the Epic Tier and 6 in the Legendary Tier. In addition, Knight Rakshasa Sword God Suan had broken through to the Legendary Tier. The Blood Fire Sword Spirit Bai Yun, the Dragon Horse Spear General Wuxia, the 10-directional Martial Emperor Feng Luo had broken through to the Legendary Tier Elementary Grade. Soul Arrow Wu Tu had broken through to Extraordinary Tier Elementary Grade. The original Spirit Race Ansel had broken through to the Extraordinary Tier Elementary Grade. The others also had different improvements in strength. Zhou looked at the list and nodded slightly. Chapter 661 Epic Tier Lord Talent Super Quests Master. In addition, Knight Rakshasa Sword God Suan had broken through to the Legendary Tier. The Blood Fire Sword Spirit Bai Yun, the Dragon Horse Spear General Wuxia, the 10-directional Martial Emperor Feng Luo had broken through to the Legendary Tier Elementary Grade. Soul Arrow Wu Tu had broken through to Extraordinary Tier Elementary Grade. The original Spirit Race Ansel had broken through to the Extraordinary Tier Elementary Grade. The others also had different increases in strength. Zhou looked at the list and nodded slightly. Now the total military strength under his command, coupled with the more than 1 million troops of the Star Alliance, had already reached more than 73 million. After Zhou calculated this result, a smile appeared on his face. With so many troops around, the difference between them and the fog monsters was not very great. He undoubtedly felt more confident about those enemies. Then, he began to deal with the loots. First, Zhou looked at the epic tier Scarlet Lord Talent Sphere. A text notification appeared. Do you want to purify it? Purify, Zhou said expectantly. The next second, a golden light flashed on the Scarlet Lord Talent Sphere. Then, the blood-colored light on the Scarlet Lord Talent Sphere disappeared. At this moment, its message has also changed. Treasure name, Lord Talent Sphere, Super Quests Master. Treasure grade, Epic tier, Treasure effect. After absorbing it, the Lord will have an Epic tier Lord Talent, Super Quests Master. Treasure description. A Lord Talent Sphere purified by the Supreme Will. After absorbing it, you can obtain an Epic tier Lord Talent. Super Quests Expert. Lord Talent related to quests. Zhou pondered. Then, he did not think too much about it and chose to absorb it. Soon, the Epic tier Lord Talent Sphere immediately turned into countless purple light spots and surged into his glabella. Zhou closed his eyes. A moment later, he reopened his eyes again after some time. Then, he immediately opened his Lord's personal information. The 28th Lord Talent appeared in his Lord Talent column. Not bad, not bad. The more Lord Talents I have, the stronger my Lord Law Talent will be. I will be able to walk further on this path in the future. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. Then he opened the details of the talent. Lord Talent, Super Quests Master, Epic tier. Super Quest Master. You are a fanatic about quests. No matter what quest it is, you can maintain 200% enthusiasm to complete it. During the long-term completion of quests, you have gradually nurtured a pair of eyes that can discover quests and always find the trick to completing them easier. You believe that there is no quest that you can't complete because you have endless ideas. Specific Talent Effect 1. Your eyes can see targets with quests and hidden missions. Specific Talent Effect 2. When you communicate with the target with the quests, there is a certain chance of triggering the quest notification, making it easier for you to obtain the quest from the other party. Specific Talent Effect 2. When you communicate with the target with the quests, there is a certain chance of triggering the quest notification, making it easier for you to obtain the quest from the other party. Specific Talent Effect 4. There is a very small chance of obtaining additional mission rewards, and a high chance of triggering subsequent quests after you complete the mission. Specific Talent Effect 5. You are a famous quest master. After other life forms hear your reputation, there is a certain chance that they will take the initiative to find you and issue quests to you. This Lord Talent looks quite useful. Zhou looked at this Lord Talent a few times and clicked his tongue in wonder. He thought for a moment and walked out of the advanced grade Lord's Paradise. He walked on the street and prepared to test the specific effect of this Lord Talent. In the capital, Jade Sun Park. This was the largest park in the Blazing Sun Kingdom. It was personally ordered by Zheng Yuanqi and covered an astonishing 10,000 square kilometers. Such an area was comparable to the size of a city on the Cerulean planet and could accommodate 4 to 5 million people. The reason why it was built so big. Firstly, it was because the population of the Blazing Sun Kingdom was increasing. In order to allow more and more subjects to have places to relax and entertain in the future, this Jade Sun Park was built. Secondly, it was because there were many subject races in the Blazing Sun Kingdom. There was no lack of subjects as huge as the dragon race. In order to make Jade Sun Park a place that could accommodate the recreation and entertainment of many races, Zheng Yuanqi built this park so big. He even had plans to expand in the future. At this moment, Zhou was strolling by a lake called the Leaping Fish Lake in Jade Sun Park. Along the way, he saw more than 10 people in front of him, sitting on a small bench on a stone by the lake with a fishing rod in their hands, fishing leisurely. Zhou clicked his tongue in wonder. Then he prepared to leave. But at this moment, he suddenly looked at the top of one of the fishermen's heads, as if he had seen a ghost. A bright golden exclamation mark floated above. Zhou could not help but fall into deep thought. He must have played too many online games, right? However, it had to be said that such a notification was indeed quite eye-catching. Zhou put on a mask and turned into a middle-aged man after some thought. Then he walked over and came to the other party's side. He was about to speak when he saw the person in front of him shushing him with a serious expression. Then he pointed at the lake. Zhou nodded and sat down beside him without saying anything else. However, even though he had sat down, he did not plan to stop. Instead, he sized this person up. He looked like a middle-aged man with short hair. His hair was a little messy, and his gaze was patient and determined. Then, his gaze landed on the other party's fishing rod. At this moment, a line of golden text suddenly appeared. Quest hint. This is Yuhuan's favorite golden bamboo jade rod. Few people know it. If you mention it to Yuhuan, he will have a certain favorable impression of you. Zhou raised his eyebrows. He thought for a moment and pretended to be surprised. This is the golden bamboo jade patterned rod, right? Hey, you know? As soon as he finished speaking, the fisherman, who had just ignored him, suddenly turned to look at him with a surprised expression. Of course I've heard of such a famous fishing rod. Zhou said seriously. Not bad, not bad. This is the golden bamboo jade patterned rod. Brother, you know your stuff. Sai, when I first moved here, no one nearby recognized this top-grade fishing rod. It's really frustrating. I thought I was in the desert of the fisher. Speaking of which, I heard that the Blazing Sun Kingdom used to be a huge desert. I really couldn't tell at all. Yuhuan rambled on. It was as if talking about fishing could open his mouth. Zhou smiled and listened as he communicated with the other party from time to time. Big brother seems to like to fish. Zhou chatted. It's not just like, it's also work. I don't have any other skills, but I know how to fish. But fishing is also difficult. I earn very little miscores. It can only supplement my family's expenses. My son Yuwang has also grown up. I'm thinking of exchanging the golden bamboo and jade rod in my hand for 2 diamond-tier miscores to find him a wife. Aren't there many girls in the city now? And all of them look like thieves. If we don't get married now, won't the good-looking ones be snatched away so quickly in the future? Yuhuan muttered. This fishing rod is a very important treasure to Big Brother, right? Zhou glanced at the golden bamboo and jade-patterned rod. White platinum tier advanced grades fishing rod. It could increase the experience of the fisherman's life class during the fishing process. There were also a few exclusive fishing skills. Other than that, even though it was a little old, selling them for 2 to 3 diamond-tier mist cores together was indeed not a scam. It's very important. It's the reward of the champion, the king of fish, I obtained in a regional fishing competition. I've loved fishing for most of my life. This fishing rod can be said to be my greatest achievement in fishing. It's better not to sell such a meaningful item. You can think of another way to make money. Zhou hesitated for a moment and suggested. Yuhuan shook his head and grinned. I want to sell it. Fishing was my greatest achievement until I had my son. As soon as he finished speaking, a quest notification appeared. Chapter 662 Quest, Greatest Achievement. Your subject, Yuhuan, has issued you a subject quest. Quest name, Greatest Achievement. Quality of quests, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade. Quest content. Yuhuan wants to find a satisfactory woman for his son, Yuwang, to be his wife in this wave of immigration. Therefore, he wants to sell his precious fishing rod, the golden bamboo jade patterned rod, to sell the mist core, and buy his fishing rod to satisfy his wish. Mission reward, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Fishing Rod, Golden Bamboo Jade Patterned Rod, as well as blueprints, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Fisherman's Fishing EXP, 10 Diamond Tier Mist Cores, Yuhuan's Gratitude, and Yuwang's Friendship, extra reward. Zhou looked at the mission. It was just a normal quests, so the mission reward was not too special. The only thing that surprised Zhou was that Yuhuan's son, Yu Wang's friendship was actually an additional reward to him. Zhou smacked his lips. Never mind, it was just an ordinary quest, not a hidden mission. How could he ask for any high-level rewards? Moreover, he remembered that he had accepted a quest from Deadwood Village in the past. There was also a child's friendship inside that had become one of the quest's rewards. Looking at it this way, it did not seem strange to use the friendship of children as a mission reward. He did not mind. He took out 2 diamond-tier mist cores and handed them to Yu Huan with a smile. I quite like this golden bamboo jade rod. Since Big Brother is willing to part with it, how about selling it to me? Really? Yu Huan was stunned and could not react for a moment. When she reacted, she was immediately excited. Heaven took pity on him. He had spent countless efforts in order to find a suitable seller to buy his precious fishing rod, and was willing to pay to no avail. Originally, he did not believe the legend that the Blazing Sun Kingdom, which had a rather good green environment, was located in the desert. However, after realizing that not many people bought his fishing rod, he had to believe it even if he didn't want to. God had actually sent the seller he wanted to him, just as he was worried. The more Yu Huan looked at Zhou, the more satisfied she felt. Since this brother knew the golden bamboo jade rod, it meant that he was also a person who liked to fish. He did not have to worry about his fishing rod being wasted if he handed his treasures to the other party. Thank you, brother. Yu Huan sighed. Then, the 2 of them handed over the mist core and the fishing rod in one hand, and each obtained what they wanted. Still, when Yu Huan handed over the fishing rod, his eyes were still filled with reluctance. However, when he thought of his son, the reluctance in his eyes disappeared, and a faint smile appeared on his face. On the other side, after Zhou obtained the fishing rod, a quest notification immediately appeared in front of him. Prompt: Mission Quest. The greatest achievement has been completed. Mission Reward: Yellow Gold Tier Advanced Grade Fishing Rod, Golden Bamboo Jade Striped Rod, as well as Blueprints, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Fisherman's Fishing Experience, 10 Diamond Tier Mist Cores, Yu Huan's Thanks and Yu Wang's Friendship, Extra Reward, have been distributed. Big Brother. It's getting late. I'll go back and rest first. Don't go back too late. Zhou stood up and said. Okay. Yu Huan smiled and nodded. After Zhou left, he looked at the lake in front of him and sighed. If it was in the past, he would most likely stay here to fish at night and earn more mist cores for his family. But now that the fishing rod was gone, he could only... Yu Huan's eyes suddenly widened, because he suddenly saw his precious fishing rod was actually quietly placed on the fishing gear behind him. Brother, you forgot your fishing rod. He hurriedly stood up and shouted at the figure in the distance. Haha, I suddenly don't want it anymore. Big Brother, keep it for yourself. You don't have to return the mist cores to me. The figure in the distance waved without turning his head. At this moment, how could Yu Huan not understand? He had met a good person. At this moment, his body suddenly trembled. He stared fixedly at the back of the figure in the distance. At the same time, his voice began to replay in his mind many times. This back view, this voice. Why does it look so much like His Majesty? Is it so difficult that the person I was chatting with just now was His Majesty? Yu Huan muttered to himself. While this idea was a guess, for some reason, he believed his guess very much. Perhaps this was a man's intuition. On the other side, Zhou did not care about the fishing rod. He was already very satisfied with exchanging 2 diamond-tier mist cores for so many rewards. Why snatch what others loved? He did not return to the advanced grade lord's paradise. Instead, he continued to stroll around the territory and try to obtain some quests. Yu Huan's quest gave him some benefits. He felt that he could not stop now, as if he had really become a super quests expert. In the next 2 hours, with the hint given by the Lord Talent of the super quests expert, Zhou had actually triggered 3 more quests in a short period of time. Even though they were all normal quests, he had also obtained rewards for the total value of more than 100 extraordinary tier mist cores. In addition, he had also obtained a lot of skills, equipment, class experience, and even some interesting small tools, allowing him to fully satisfy the addiction of a super quests master. Time to go back. Zhou handed a letter to an old man. After making the old pen pal smile, he successfully obtained the mission reward. The reward was not much, but he was enjoying it. However, he could not continue. This was because he wanted to go back and rest. He had been comprehending the Lord's law previously, and made himself so tired. He had yet to rest. At the thought of this, after bidding farewell to this old man, he rushed towards his advanced grade Lord's paradise. On the way back, Zhou also took off his mask. Then he pondered as he walked. I can try not wearing a mask tomorrow, and trigger the quests with my true identity. Zhou thought. His status as a lord would give others, especially the subjects in the territory, a huge sense of reliability. This feeling would make it easier to obtain higher-level quests, even though it was easy to pull away from normal subjects. Your Majesty. At this moment, a surprised and familiar voice sounded. Zhou was stunned and looked over. A girl was running towards him. It was Bao Xiao, whom he had not seen for a long time. Zhou had a deep impression of this tailor, who had followed him the earliest in the territory. After all, the other party had mended his clothes many times. Long time no see. Zhou smiled. Your Majesty, nobles are forgetful. I'm afraid you've already forgotten about me, right? Bao Xiao was quite excited at first. After hearing Zhou's words, she said bitterly and disappointedly. Zhou coughed lightly. He knew that the other party seemed to be interested in him. However, he could not force it. Where's teacher Li Huiyue? How's her body? Zhou changed the topic. Grandmaster's body has completely recovered. And, Xiao, who are you talking to? Before Bao Xiao could finish speaking, he heard a woman's voice coming from behind her. Then a middle-aged couple walked over. When they arrived, not only were they stunned, even Zhou was stunned. Chapter 663 Li Huiyu's background. Mid-tier deity level hidden mission. Teacher Li. Elder Bai. Zhou's eyes widened. This pair of old men advancing in parallel, their eyes filled with love and warmth, were Li Huiyue and Bai Yuejing. Li Huiyue and Zhou were not surprised. But Elder Bai, what are you doing? At this moment Zhou's mind raced. He quickly thought of the most correct possibility. Li Huiyue was cured by Elder Bai. Could the two of them have feelings for each other during the treatment, and were now together? At the thought of this, he widened his eyes and looked at the couple, his eyes filled with gossip. Your Majesty, please listen to my explanation. When Bai Yuejing saw Zhou's expression, she knew what he was thinking and explained with a bitter smile. Zhou nodded. Tell me and I will believe them all. Seeing this, Bai Yuejing could only explain first. The content of his explanation was almost the same as Zhou's guess. Previously, when Bai Yuejing treated Li Huiyu's condition to a certain extent, Li Huiyue was still very weak. Following the principle of a doctor saving people to the end, Bai Yuejing came to Li Huiyue every day to do follow-up treatment. Under Bai Yuejing's meticulous treatment and care, both sides gradually understood each other better. During the process of understanding, feelings gradually developed between them. In the end, Li Huiyue stopped pretending and took the initiative to chase after Bai Yuejing, this old handsome man. Bai Yuejing was also very tempted by this old beauty, with an extraordinary aura. Therefore, the two sides gradually came together. 2 days ago, they had even become a legal couple under the witness of the officials of the marriage department in the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Why didn't you call me for such a big matter? Zhou said regretfully. His Majesty is busy every day. You are also busy with the activities of the King of 10,000 Kings. After discussing it with Huiyue, I didn't tell your Majesty about us. However, we haven't held a wedding banquet yet. We're just registered in the marriage department. In the future, if your Majesty is willing and has time, please come when we hold the wedding banquet. Bai Yuejing smiled. Of course. I'll definitely go then. Zhou smiled and nodded. The old couple in front of him had a deep relationship with him. Zhou naturally had to witness it with his own eyes now that they could get together. At that time, we will welcome your Majesty. Bai Yuejing smiled. Zhou smiled and nodded. At this moment, Li Huiyue looked at Zhou and hesitated for a moment before suddenly asking, Your Majesty, How's the situation outside now? Don't worry, everything is under control. Zhou was stunned before saying. Li Huiwa nodded hesitantly. The three people present could vaguely tell that Li Huiwa had something to say. Zhou found it a little strange. This was because the speed at which the fog was spread and transformed into scarlet creatures was too fast. Most of the life forms sealed could not even escape. They became muddle-headed fog creatures. In the history of the myriad worlds, there were many examples of the entire world falling into a fog world because of a mist source. It could be seen how terrifying this small mist source was. My father and mother doted on us the most. After sending us children out of the range of the mist source, they were transformed into fog creatures by the mist source before they could escape. Your Majesty, Li Huiwa looked at Zhou and begged. I know that my father, mother, and the subjects of the entire New Wind Kingdom can't be saved. But I don't want them to be humiliated after they die. I beg your Majesty to go conquer the fallen New Wind Demon Kingdom when you have enough strength in the future and give father, mother, and the New Wind subjects freedom. May I, your Majesty? As soon as he finished speaking, a quest notification appeared. Your subject Li Huiwa has issued a quest to you. Quest name: Conquer the New Wind Demon Kingdom. Quality of quest: Mid-tier deity level advanced grade obscure. Quest description: The New Wind Kingdom that was once famous for flying freely in the sky has been reduced to a fog country because of a naturally born mist source. Agree to the request of the Princess of the Fallen Country and lead troops to conquer the New Wind Kingdom and save their free souls who are unwilling to fall into the fallen. Mission reward: Lost treasure of the New Wind Kingdom. Zhou looked at the mission thoughtfully. Chapter 664: The New Ancestor Statue of the Human Race on Cerulean Planet. Zhou's expression was a little serious. A hidden mission for a mid-tier deity level advanced grade. This was the first time he had seen such a high-level hidden mission. The difficulty behind this mission was probably not small, and should be at least mid-tier deity-level enemies. Where's the New Wind Kingdom? Zhou asked. My father knows that the fall of the New Wind Kingdom is an irreversible fact. Therefore, he activated a mid-tier deity-level advanced grade array, Wind King barrier before he completely fell, completely closing the entire New Wind Kingdom. The current New Wind Demon Kingdom has been completely hidden on the high continent because of the Wind King barrier. Even a high-tier deity level might not be able to find the location of the New Wind Kingdom. However, this Wind King barrier can be opened with the New Wind Royal Bloodline. This is the map of the New Wind Kingdom. Your Majesty, please accept it. Li Huiwa said. Then, he took out a golden silk map from his spatial ring and handed it to Zhou. Zhou took it and read it. Soon he heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, not very far. With the current speed of the Starry Night, they should be able to arrive after flying at full speed for about a day. He put away the map and said to Li Huiwa, I can't leave for the time being. I'll take a look when I have time in 2 days. Thank you, Your Majesty. Li Huiwa was about to kneel when Zhou hurriedly helped her up. Her eyes were filled with tears. Clearly, this matter had been in her heart for too long. You were so seriously injured previously? Could it be? Zhou suddenly thought of this and asked curiously. Li Huiwa nodded and sighed softly. I really miss my family, so I went to the New Wind Demon Kingdom alone. I wanted to use the secret passage to see my parents, but I was severely injured by the New Wind Demon soldiers at the outermost area before I could see my parents. I dragged my severely injured body to Fish Spring Town to rest. Then, I happened to encounter my disciple and His Majesty. It could be considered a blessing in disguise. At this point, she looked at Zhou and Bai Yuejing beside her. If not for that injury, he might not be able to meet his disciple, lord, and loved ones in his life. It could be considered a blessing in disguise. Everyone nodded. According to His Majesty's hometown language, this is called a blessing in disguise. Bao Xiu'er quickly came back to her senses from the fact that her grandmaster was the princess of a fallen country, and said with a smile. She accepted it very quickly. In another world, the princess of a fallen country might be a very precious species. But in the high continent, new kingdoms were established and destroyed every day. Not to mention the princess of a fallen country, it was not uncommon for descendants of the god spirit to decline. Among the people present, only Bai Yuejing sighed softly. Li Huiyue and him had known about this during the treatment. Originally, he did not want the person he loved to be in danger after almost dying. However, looking at the scene in front of him, he knew that it was useless for him to say too much. Forget it. Just as well. With His Majesty's current power, he might really be able to save the new Wind Demon Kingdom. This could also resolve the knot in Li Huiyu's heart. Bai Yuejing thought to himself. After Zhou was concerned about their recent matters, he bade farewell to everyone and returned to his advanced grade lord's paradise. In the study, Zhou sat on a throne made of golden cedar wood and recalled what had happened tonight. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this super quest had astonishing potential. In just one night, he had obtained many mist cores and valuable items. He had also obtained a hidden mission for a mid-tier deity level advanced grade. The reward for this mission was the lost treasure of an entire high-level kingdom. Even though there was a coincidence, it could be seen that this Lord Talent had huge potential. My previous guess was right. The strength, power, and status represented by my identity also determines what quests I can receive. For example, when I was wearing a mask previously, I could only receive some ordinary middle and low-level quests. Even though the rewards I obtained are also of a certain value, they're only ordinary to the current me. At most, they're a little novel. And when I put down my mask and came into contact with quests as myself, I directly obtained a hidden mission for a mid-tier deity level advanced grade. If I had worn a mask to meet teacher Li Huiyue, she definitely wouldn't have handed her identity and the new Wind Demon Kingdom's entrustment to me without knowing my identity and ability. Even if I can know that she has a hidden mission through the mission notification given by my talent, I might not be able to trigger it. Thinking of this, Zhou nodded slightly. Since that was the case, in the future, if he wanted to do missions, he would try his best to do them with his true identity. Otherwise, it would be a waste of his experience and title. As the strongest lord of all races, the owner of the race's divine artifact, the owner of the chaos human bloodline, the lord favored by the supreme will, this Lord Talent could not be more suitable for him. He came back to his senses. Zhou took out 3 gray humanoid statues. This gray willful statue depicted a middle-aged man with a tall crown on his head, a thin face, and a neat black beard. He looked over. A text notification appeared. Treasure name: Ancestor statue of the human race on Cerulean planet. Zhang Heng. Treasure grade: Extraordinary tier. Treasure effect: place it in the shrine of the Imperial Ancestral Temple, and activate the ancestor statue's ancestral enhancement effect on territory, subjects, or lords. Treasure description: Zhang Heng, courtesy name Pingzi Han Chinese. He was from Xie, Nanyang, and one of the 5 sages of Nanyang. He was a great astronomer, mathematician, inventor, geographer, and literary scholar during the Eastern Han Dynasty of China. He was praised by later generations as the Wood Sage, sage of science. Its ancestor Zhang Heng. Zhou came to a realization. He had a deep impression of this ancestor. He remembered watching a children's animation when he was young. It told the story of this ancestor making a guide car. At that time, he was very curious. Why was the wooden man's finger pointing south, even though the direction of the guidance car had clearly changed? He did not understand it in the end, and he did not expect to obtain the statue of this ancestor today. As for the other 2 ancestor statues of the human race on the Cerulean planet, they were naturally the 2 additional ancestor statues that Zhang Heng had dropped with the help of his lord title. Zhou first picked up 2 of them and fused them into an epic tier ancestor statue of Zhang Heng. Then, he took this ancestor statue to the Imperial Ancestral Temple. Chapter 665 Treasure: Hofeng Earthquake Device Imperial Ancestral Temple. Zhou Zhou looked at the scene in front of him. 4 10-meter-tall red shrines were neatly placed on the altar. 3 of the shrines worshipped the statues of Sun Simiao, Gong Shubun and Lu Bai's ancestors. The other 3 shrines were empty. Thick spatial power erupted, forming a spatial passageway with endless suction behind it, directly sucking it into the spatial rift. Zhou Zhou could not help but complain in his heart. He had killed more than 100 million fog monsters under his command. However, there were only a few ancestor statues of humans on Cerulean planet. This was not a matter of drop rate. His drop rate was already maxed out. The fog monsters that could drop ancestral statues were too random and rare. When he was in the World Channel, he had seen other lords drop the ancestor statue of the human race on Cerulean planet. However, no one sold it at all. Zhou Zhou, the king of loots, could only covet such a situation. He didn't think too much about it. He directly took out Zhang Heng's ancestral statue and carefully placed it in an empty shrine with the art of control. The next second, the entire hall shook slightly. A deep and solemn middle-aged man's voice sounded. It's better to retreat and form a net than to envy fish in the abyss. So this is what Zhang Heng's ancestor said? Zhou Zhou mourned for a second for his language and historical standard. At this moment, a new text notification appeared. You have placed an epic tier ancestor statue of the human race on Cerulean planet in the shrine of the Imperial Ancestral Temple, Zhang Heng. You have activated the exclusive ancestral enhancement effect, climate, wind and earth seismoscope. The current ancestor statue has been updated. Current ancestral enhancement effect has been updated. The next second, a huge golden climate, wind and earth seismoscope that was 20 to 30 feet tall gradually appeared on the ground in front of Zhang Heng's ancestor statue. Zhou Zhou looked at the climate, wind and earth seismoscope. Its entire body was golden in color. It looked like a wine goblet. There were 8 dragon heads set up outside the goblet. Each dragon head had a small copper pill in its mouth, and under each dragon head was a toad with its mouth open. The climate, wind and earth seismoscope, the world's first instrument to observe earthquakes. Unbelievable. As expected of a saint, Zhou Zhou looked at the seismograph and felt very emotional. If it was in the modern world, it would not be strange for people to observe earthquakes with all kinds of advanced technology. In the ancient times when technology was backward, Zhang Heng had forcefully created such a black technology without the help of various scientific instruments. Just thinking about it made him feel ridiculous. He looked at the information on the device. A text notification appeared. Treasure name, climate, wind and earth seismoscope. Treasure grade, epic tier. Treasure effect 1. When all the professionals in the territory create related class actions, their manufacturing efficiency will increase by 800%. At the same time, during the manufacturing process, there is a very small chance that they will suddenly be inspired and create new item manufacturing blueprints. Treasure effect 2. The potential of all physician-related professionals in the territory will increase by 2 levels. It cannot surpass the legendary tier advanced grade at most. If you leave the territory, the enhancement of your potential will be ineffective. Treasure effect 3. When an earthquake occurs within 10,000 kilometers of the climate, wind and earth seismoscope, it can calm the earthquake for 3 days. Cooldown 10 days. Treasure introduction. Life is hard work. If you don't want it, how can you obtain it? Prompt. This treasure is exclusive to the Imperial Ancestral Temple. It cannot be worn down, lost, or destroyed. Zhou Zhou looked at the treasure effect of the climate, wind and earth seismoscope, and took a deep breath. Even though this climate, wind and earth seismoscope was still a little inferior to the effect of ancestor Sun Simiao's 1,000 gold medicine recipe, it was also very strong. Firstly, 800% manufacturing efficiency was already very exaggerated. Professionals in other territories could only do 1 day of work a day. The professionals of the professional kingdom could work for 8 days a day. Moreover, during the production process, there was actually a chance of comprehending a new item creation blueprint? Good God! The King of Internal Scrolls plus Inventor is talking about you? As for its treasure effect 2, it directly increased the potential of the professionals in his territory by a large level. Even though the upper limit was epic tier advanced grade, this was also a height that many life forms could only dream of. The third treasure's ability to suppress earthquakes was similar to his Lord talent, Peaceful Times. His Lord talent, Peaceful Times, could prevent natural disasters from happening in his territory. Of course, he could bring this treasure out of the territory and suppress the earthquake outside the territory. He could use this ability. A top-grade treasure. Zhou was all smiles. As expected of the epic tier cerulean planet's ancestor statue, the effect did not disappoint him. Then, he left the Imperial Ancestral Temple and returned to Advanced Grade Lord's Paradise. In a study room in the Advanced Grade Lord's Paradise, in a loot's warehouse. This was a special place that came with the blessed land to process, sort and store loots. It occupied a rather large area, which was enough to store a large number of loots. After Zhou arrived, he took out the corpses of the 21 legendary tier fog monsters and 3 low-tier deity level elementary grade scarlet fog god spirits that he had obtained during the faction quests today. A smile appeared on Zhou's face as he looked at the corpses of so many high-level experts. A moment later, all the corpses had been extracted. The corpses of 21 legendary tier fog monsters provided Zhou with a total of 1,150 low-tier deity level divine crystals, 18 low-tier deity level hero inheritance secret manuals, 189 low-tier deity level divine artifacts, 260 low-tier deity level law skills, 21 low-tier deity level book of the god spirit, 252 green bronze tier lord talent crystal fragments, and 56 low-tier deity level treasures. For example, low-tier deity level potions, scrolls, and materials. As for the 3 low-tier deity level elementary grade scarlet god spirits, they provided Zhou with 220 low-tier deity level elementary grade divine crystals, 3 low-tier deity level elementary grade hero inheritance secret manuals, 3 mid-tier deity level elementary grade divine artifacts fiery fist, 18 mid-tier deity level elementary grade law skills, 3 mid-tier deity level elementary grade books of the god spirit, 26 green bronze tier lord talent crystal fragments, 12 mid-tier deity level potions, scroll materials, and other god tier items. This low-tier deity level scarlet god spirit is too poor. Of the 3 god spirits, only one of them has a low-tier deity level divine artifact. Zhou was speechless. It seemed that the lack of divine artifacts was the same for the god spirits under the supreme will and the god spirits under the crimson overlord. Still, he looked at the divine artifact in the king's treasure box that was about to pile up into a small mountain. He kept feeling that there was something wrong with the style of the divine artifact on his side. It's all brought about by my lord talent. Speaking of which, my lord talent as the king of loots is really abnormal. I feel that the only level of the mythical tier is not enough to describe it. Zhou could not help but sigh. Then he did not think too much about it. Instead, he called Atli and Aaliyah over and asked them to gather by Yun, Wuxia, and the other generals of the main territories, as well as the lords of the Star Alliance, to the conference hall to discuss matters later. The 2 sisters took their orders and left. Chapter 666 Beginner Scarlet Empire of Feidu. Refined Flame Scarlet Legion. A moment later, in the conference hall, hundreds of generals had gathered here. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Among these generals, many were of different races. There were human generals, monster generals, titan generals, kobold generals, ice ghost generals, and some generals from other races. In terms of quantity, about 2/3 of them were human generals, while the other 1/3 were from the people of foreign races. Moreover, more than half of these generals emitted the aura of heroes. Even though the other half of the generals did not have the aura of heroes, their strength and aura were also extremely strong. Their temperaments were shrewd and capable. Clearly, they were not ordinary people. The lords of the Star Alliance were among them. Even though their temperaments were not as good as the generals who had been on the battlefield for a long time, they were considered outstanding people among the normal cerulean planet lords. Especially after following Zhou, she had seen many big scenes and gradually developed a calm temperament. In addition, Haris and Zewu were also present. At this moment, they were looking at the generals of the Blazing Sun Kingdom in surprise. It would be hard for them to imagine if they hadn't seen them with their own eyes. This was the strength of a lord faction that had just established the beginner kingdom a few days ago. It's not unreasonable for this king of the Blazing Sun to have come this far. Eros grinned. What kind of charm does this guy have to be able to attract so many capable people to work under him willingly? Zewu looked at these generals and experts, and his icy blue pervert eyes flickered. He recalled what this king of the Blazing Sun had done in the past few days, and nodded inwardly. He dared to think about what others didn't dare to think about, and do what others didn't dare to do. The key was that he had done everything. He didn't dare to say anything else. He was ambitious, and had the ability to realize his ambitions. Moreover, there would not be much risk in the process. If it were he really wanted to follow this emperor. On the other side, seeing that everyone was here, Zhou briefly recounted how the Scarlet Army would arrive at the Blazing Sun Kingdom tomorrow night. Then he said, "That's probably what happened. Please share your opinions. Wu Tu, you first. Tell me about the other party's information," he said. Wu Tu immediately stood up. After receiving His Majesty's order today, the Heavenly Map Army immediately went 10,000 miles away to investigate the situation of the Scarlet Army. According to our investigation, this Scarlet Army is a complete Scarlet Army. It comes from a junior Scarlet Empire called Feidu. It's the strongest army of this empire, the Smelting Yin Army. Everyone's expressions turned serious when they heard this. It was actually the strongest army of the empire? No wonder there were 100 million Scarlet troops. Wu Tu did not look at the others' expressions and continued. According to the information we've received, after this junior Scarlet Empire called Fei Du let the Smelting Yin Army descend to the Supreme Continent, they suddenly realized that the location of their descent was actually very close to our Blazing Sun Kingdom. Coupled with the fact that they knew the reputation of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, the ruler of their empire, Fei Du Komori, suddenly changed his mind about invading other empires and headed straight for our Blazing Sun Kingdom. It's all for the sake of plundering our Blazing Sun Kingdom and even destroying it. The other party even plans to withdraw from this tribulation of 10,000 races event after attacking our Blazing Sun Kingdom. This is because they seem to think that their gains after destroying our Blazing Sun Kingdom are enough for them to eat and drink their fill. As soon as he finished speaking, Qi Xiantian snorted coldly, his eyes flickering with sword radiance. Looks like our Blazing Sun Kingdom is quite valued by the other party. Aren't they afraid of breaking their rotten teeth if they come to destroy us? Since it's the strongest army of the Scarlet Empire, there should be a Scarlet God Spirit inside. I hope the blood of such a Scarlet God Spirit can improve my strength. Guo also grinned. His smile was ferocious and arrogant. On the other hand, Zewu's expression was solemn. I knew that this divine artifact wouldn't be so easy to obtain. Moreover, it was borrowed at the last minute. He sighed softly. Haros was much more excited compared to Zewu. He gently stroked the divine artifact on his body with an excited expression, and his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Since it's the strongest army of the Scarlet Empire, there might be a high-tier deity-level Scarlet God Spirit among them. Very good. Now that I have this set of divine artifacts, only a high-tier deity-level God Spirit will require me to fight it with all my might. As the god of blazing sun and burns, the nature of his personality was influenced by the path of laws he walked. It was actually quite explosive. From the day he became a god, deep in his heart, he yearned to fight with other powerful god spirits. However, even though he yearned for battle, he was not stupid. He knew that without a divine artifact, if he really rashly went to fight other god spirits and encountered a powerful god spirit with a divine artifact, he would be sending himself to his death. Therefore, in the days after he became a god, he spent most of his time in seclusion to accumulate strength, until the day the king of the blazing sun arrived. After following the king of the blazing sun, I seem to be living the life I want. Haros thought. God spirit, there definitely are. According to our intel, At least 5 Scarlet God spirits have come with the army, and there's no lack of high-tier deity-level existences among them. This is some specific information. I've sent it to your personal terminals. Wu Tu said. Everyone immediately opened their personal terminals and looked at the information about the Scarlet God spirit that Wu Tu had just sent. Zhou was no exception. Mid-tier deity, blood fiend demon god, in Rabel, a Scarlet God spirit from the abyss. He specializes in the law of blood and the law of evil energy. High-tier deity level, East Capital King, Shiqi, comes from one of the myriad worlds, the Eastern Emperor Great Thousand World. He specializes in the law of true fire and the law of space condensation. Low-tier deity level, Tsunami Fist God, Zhao Qinkong, originated from an unknown martial Dao world's law-type god spirit. He looked at the information of these god spirits one by one. Wu Tu had investigated a total of 7 god spirits. Among them, there was a high-tier deity level, 2 mid-tier deity levels, and 4 low-tier deity levels. As for whether there were other Scarlet God spirits, he did not know for the time being. As long as it's not a true God tier that descends, our Blazing Sun Kingdom will have the strength to fight. A certain hero of the people of foreign race smiled. True God tier will not descend. Zhou said casually. With the power of a true God tier, a casual attack can cause a large-scale damage of at least 5,000 kilometers. If you attack with all your might, you might even permanently destroy a certain place in the high continent. Therefore, the Supreme Agreement has stipulated that unless the empires or divine kingdoms fight, true God tiers are not allowed to interfere in matters below the kingdom level. Zhou said casually. With the power of a true God tier, a casual attack can cause a large-scale damage of at least 5,000 kilometers. If you attack with all your might, you might even permanently destroy a certain place in the high continent. Therefore, the Supreme Agreement has stipulated that unless the empires or divine kingdoms fight, true God tiers are not allowed to interfere in matters below the kingdom level. There's only one way for a true God tier to make a move in a world with life forms. That is to descend on the Holy Spirit that believes in He to walk the world of life forms as a sage. But once a true God tier leaves the Holy Spirit, the possessed Holy Spirit will die quickly. Even though they will become heroic spirits after death, and head to the true God tier's divine kingdom, to be reborn in another form. A living Holy Spirit is much more valuable than a dead heroic spirit. Therefore, unless we have to make a move, the true God tier won't easily sacrifice the Holy Spirit and descend into the life form world. He had some of the contents of the Supreme Agreement in his mind, so he was quite clear about such things. Chapter 667 By Yun's Reason. Feng Luo's Path to the Martial God. Heros and Zhe Wu were a little surprised. This king of the blazing sun was clearly a lord of the human race. How did he know so many secrets? Next, Wu Tu said some more information, then indicated that he was done. Good work. Zhou nodded. It was already quite good to be able to gather so much information in such a short period of time. Does anyone have anything to say next? He looked at the other generals, and they looked at each other. Then, their gazes landed on Bai Yun. Even though Bai Yun was not strong, in terms of combat command, she vaguely surpassed the old general, Wu Xian, and became the #1 person in the army. Therefore, everyone wanted her to speak first. For example, Qi Xintian, Suan and Guiqiao. Even though they were much stronger than Bai Yun, most of them only trusted their own strength, and were not interested in commanding the army at all. Therefore, they had no objections to Bai Yun's current status. Both sides were like generals and commanders. Therefore, there was not much conflict between them previously. Under everyone's gaze, Bai Yun had no intention of being nervous at all. She stood up calmly and said, "Even though the enemy is coming aggressively, I feel that we will definitely win this war." Everyone became serious as soon as she finished speaking. Even though they had some confidence in the strength of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, they were not as determined as Bai Yun. Where did her confidence come from? Bai Yun noticed the gazes of the generals, but her expression did not change as she continued. "I'll tell you a few reasons. Firstly, Our military strength is increasing at all times. We only have more than 70 million troops now. After cleaning up the monster ranch tomorrow, our military strength will increase to at least 90 million. 90 million against 100 million. Even though there's still a difference in numbers, the difference is not too big. We can even be said to be evenly matched. Secondly, Your Majesty has the ability to turn the tables. When they arrive tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, Your Majesty will use insight defection, and the other party's military strength will decrease by at least 20 million. At that time, we will have 90 million troops while the other party only has 80 million troops. At that time, we will have the advantage in terms of the number of soldiers. Thirdly, we still have nearly 500 million high-quality faith divine crystals in our inventory. It's not an exaggeration to say that so many faith divine crystals are enough for all our soldiers to sacrifice once before using the small resurrection spell to revive. We have a huge tolerance for mistakes in war. Soldiers are not afraid of death when fighting, even though the other party is a scarlet monster. We also know that even scarlet monsters are afraid of death. Fourthly, we have a complete military merit exchange system and a huge number of resources to increase our soldiers' strength. Every soldier of ours has obtained a high-level soldier type class from the military merit exchange system. Moreover, they are well-equipped and have many skills. How many armies of the Lord faction in the entire High Continent can be like us? Our opponent tomorrow is just an ordinary Scarlet Legion that wants to rely on their numbers to sweep through us. I think our soldiers will be completely stronger than them. Bai Yin said firmly. Everyone nodded. They naturally trusted and were proud of the strength of their soldiers. Just as Bai Yin had said, the soldiers of the Blazing Sun Kingdom were definitely one of the strongest and most fearless soldiers among the human soldiers of the same level, and even the soldiers of the people of foreign races. Coupled with the other factors mentioned by Bai Yin, they also felt that their chances of winning were much higher. There's still the fifth point. This refined flame Scarlet Legion is still more than 10,000 kilometers away from us. This distance is neither too far nor too short, but it can completely allow us to set up traps along the way in advance and ambush it to weaken its strength. We have Starry Night. We can observe from an extremely high altitude and even attack from a high altitude, unless the other party uses high-level combat strength, or even the combat strength of a Scarlet God Spirit. They basically won't be able to hurt us. If the other party's high-level combatants really dare to fly up to look for us, Bai Yin smiled. Without the help of those normal Scarlet soldiers, our advantage will be even greater. Even if there are only a few, it's enough to increase our chances of winning. Everyone nodded. Even though God spirits were powerful, once there were more lower-level soldiers, they could not be underestimated. For example, if tens of millions of lower-level soldiers attacked a low-tier deity-level God spirit together, this God spirit would not be able to withstand it. Quantity would cause a qualitative change after all. I have good news too. The new God spirit of our Blazing Sun Kingdom, Lady Ice Flower, has already established her divine kingdom. She will return tomorrow. Zhou said. Everyone was a little excited. Even though the other party was a God spirit of the people of foreign race, he was also a subject of their Blazing Sun Kingdom. The battle was about to begin. It would definitely be a good thing to have another God spirit on their side. How can it be so fast? Hera said in surprise. Didn't the other party just build the divine kingdom in the morning? It was successfully built in less than a day. Normally speaking, it would need at least 2 or 3 days for it to be built successfully. Zhou shook his head, indicating that he did not know. Actually, he knew in his heart. According to the information Vicky had told him, he had discovered the location of the Ice Demon Kingdom's God Spirit Divine Kingdom in the information he had given the other party about the original God Spirits of the Ice Demon Kingdom. The 4 Ice Demon God Spirits of the Ice Demon Kingdom might have built their divine kingdom together, with the thought of advancing and retreating together. When Vicky arrived and discovered the already dilapidated divine kingdom, she immediately became overjoyed. She directly built her own divine kingdom, with their dilapidated divine kingdom as the foundation. As their bloodlines came from the same source, and they had both used ice element laws to become achievement god spirits, this operation was smooth beyond expectations. In less than a day, Vicky had built her divine kingdom and was preparing to return. Now, the other party was already on the way back with the divine inheritances of the 4 dilapidated divine kingdoms. He planned to offer the inheritance of these god spirits to the Blazing Sun Kingdom. This was because Vicky also knew that the Ice Ghost King Kingdom and the 4 Ice Ghost god spirits had been destroyed by the Blazing Sun Kingdom. The inheritances of these god spirits were more accurately the loots of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. In addition, these inheritances were all god-tier medicinal herbs, god-tier minerals, and other god-tier treasures. There were no divine artifacts or law skill inheritances. Therefore, he was not interested in staying. Zhou was naturally very satisfied with Vicky's performance. He even planned to reward with a few low-tier deity-level elementary-grade divine artifacts when he returned. As for why he did not tell Heros, it was naturally because Heros was an outsider for the time being. Zhou would not be stupid to tell them everything. Your Majesty, at this moment, the 10-directional martial emperor, Feng Luo, stood up and pointed at a human scarlet god spirit displayed on his personal terminal. Can I deal with this scarlet god spirit? Zhou was stunned. Everyone was also a little surprised. They looked over. The scarlet god spirit Feng Luo was pointing at was Zhao Chengkong, the martial arts law god spirit from an unknown martial arts world. Zhou pondered and said, "This guy is a low-tier deity-level elementary-grade god spirit. Are you confident?" Feng Luo's comprehension ability was astonishing. This could be seen from the fact that he had independently comprehended his own law skill. Zhou had many heroes under his command. However, there were very few generals who had comprehended law skills by themselves. Even a heaven-defying sword Dao prodigy like Qi Xiantian had yet to comprehend his own law skill. It could be seen how strong Feng Luo's comprehension ability was. However, no matter how strong his comprehension ability was, the other party was still a true martial Dao law god spirit. Your Majesty. Feng Luo raised his head and stuck out his chest. His temperament was steady and calm. He said calmly, I comprehended my own martial arts law skill, One Blade Ultimate, a long time ago. And just last night, I had already walked my own path as a god spirit, or rather, the path of the martial god. Chapter 668. Should I accept the friend request? As soon as he finished speaking, a pressure that was similar to divine might and the pressure of blood energy suddenly came from his body. It was the unformed divine might. This meant that even though the other party had yet to become a god spirit, he had already come into contact with the path of a god spirit. From now on, as long as he continued step by step, and with the help of enough resources, there was at least a 50% chance of becoming a god spirit. As soon as this pressure appeared, all the generals, experts, and lords looked at him in unison, their eyes shining with envy. Some of them had already obtained the Book of God Spirit rewarded by Zhou, and were already on the path to becoming god spirits. However, their god spirit path was ultimately given to them by Zhou. Their advancement would accelerate in the early stages, but in the later stages, especially after reaching the upper limit of the Book of the God Spirit, it would be very difficult for them to break through this upper limit, making it extremely difficult for them to break through to the next God Spirit realm, unless they could change to a higher level Book of the God Spirit to increase their potential, and then use their great perseverance and wisdom to study the God Spirit path of the new Book of the God Spirit from the beginning. Only then could they embrace the new method and take another step forward. The difficulty could be seen as average. It would be completely different if he walked the path of a God Spirit. This path would be very suitable for him, because it was the God Spirit path he had developed. Moreover, when he needed to break through the upper limit of the path in the later stages, he only needed to follow his own method and continue to develop up the original path. There was no need to take a detour or walk on the path of other God Spirits. Therefore, those who could walk the path of a God Spirit had extremely high potential. For example, The book of the God Spirit that Zhou gave his subordinates was usually divided into 3 situations. The first was that his future potential was limited, and he might not even be able to become a subordinate of a God Spirit. Zhou would only allow such subordinates to surpass the upper limit of their potential and reach a realm that they could not reach previously if he gave them the book of the God Spirit. This naturally did not matter if there was an upper limit or not. The second was that the book of the God Spirit was extremely compatible with its subordinates. For example, as a natural assassin, Suan was naturally compatible with the book of the God Spirit given to him by Zhou. It would only allow Suan to understand his God Spirit path faster. He could even take advantage of his strengths to make up for his weaknesses and easily break his upper limit. The third situation was that his potential was astonishingly high. Geniuses with Master God tier potential like Xiaoxian and Qi Xiantian, their future potential was at the Master God tier level. Naturally, he would not be restricted by the God Spirit path of a mere low-level god. After reaching the upper limit of the path given by the book of the God Spirit, they could even easily use their potential to break the upper limit and walk on their own path. Otherwise, if it was really so easy to be restrained, then their potential would not be at the Master God tier level. However, even so, Zhou did not give them the book of the God Spirit. He still hoped that they could walk their own path as God Spirits. Okay, Zhou clapped. Since you're confident, I won't say anything else. Don't worry about the battle. Our Blazing Sun Kingdom is behind you, he said. With the Holy Spirit tier faith divine crystals, he was naturally not afraid of his subordinates' deaths. Thank you, Your Majesty, for fulfilling my wish, Feng Luo said respectfully. The martial god path he wanted to walk required him to experience a large number of battles with experts. It would naturally be best if he fought experts from the martial arts course. He took the initiative to make this request to Zhou because it concerned his future path. Zhou smiled and nodded before letting him sit down. Perhaps it was because the fact that he had walked his own path was too shocking. Many gazes still fell on Feng Luo even after he sat down. Zhou was also very satisfied with him. This guy. He had given him many surprises ever since he used the law skill he had comprehended. He did not expect it to give him such a big surprise again. He thought for a moment and said to Feng Luo, "After the meeting, go to the military officer and collect 1,000 legendary tier mist cores worth of military merits. This is your reward for comprehending your own God Spirit path." At this point, he looked at the others and realized that they were all looking at him with burning eyes. Zhou smiled. If any of you comprehend your own path as a God Spirit in the future, you can also receive such a reward. Also, there's no need to think too much about the generals and experts who have already used the book of the God Spirit. With the sufficient resources provided by my Blazing Sun Kingdom, the probability of breaking through to the God Spirit realm will increase by at least 40%. There will naturally be more benefits waiting for you after you become God Spirits. Don't worry too much about the reward I just mentioned. Yes, Your Majesty. The morale of the generals and experts soared, and everyone's eyes were filled with the flames of ambition. Who doesn't want to become a God Spirit? Not to mention that His Majesty is using real benefits to crazily encourage us? Who can resist this temptation? Heros and Zaiwu looked at each other. This high-tier deity level and mid-tier deity level actually felt a little envious. This king of the Blazing Sun and his Blazing Sun Kingdom were really rich. They did not have such a good faction to provide them with resources and support before they advanced to the God Spirit realm back then. After that, everyone discussed for more than an hour and arranged specific missions before the meeting ended. After the meeting ended, the generals immediately went to do what they had to do. Zhou originally wanted to go take a look at his Machina race clone. However, before he could leave, his message page blinked. Zhou took a look. He realized that it was a message from the Military Industry Lord. He looked over. Military Industry Lord. Your Majesty, that descendant of the Holy Roman Empire, Eston has already handed over a third of the country's wealth to me. I'll send you the transfer certificate. A third of the country's wealth? and the corresponding books on the nuclear weapons manufacturing process. Lord of the Blazing Sun, all right. A moment later, the military industry lord sent him everything he said. 1/3 of the country's wealth was 500 legendary tier mist cores. This was also written on the handover certificate, proving that the military industry lord was not filling his own pockets. The corresponding books for the nuclear-level arms manufacturing process were an entire library. Zhou clicked his tongue in wonder and put away all of this. Then he put away the mist core and the handover certificate. As for these books, he handed them to Wuxia to study. Then he sent the kingdom token he had agreed on. This transaction was completed harmoniously. Military Industry Lord, Your Majesty. Military Industry Lord. The Overlord Lord, Dragon Lady Lord, Undead Lord, Dark Martial Lord and Black Heaven Lord, the 5 top lords of Cerulean Planet, also want to trade the kingdom token with you. Military Industry Lord. Do you want to approve their friend request? Chapter 669 The Dark Martial Lord is removed from the group chat. When the military industry lord said this, he could not help but want to complain. In terms of the difficulty of adding him as a friend, His Majesty was definitely the most difficult lord to add as a friend among all the Cerulean Planet lords. If not for the fact that he had some trade relationship with the King of the Blazing Sun previously, his friend request would probably have been deleted long ago. Zhou was stunned. He opened his friend request list and saw billions of friend request messages. After a few seconds of silence, he opened the search bar and typed the names of these lords. Soon he saw the friend requests of these lords. Moreover, it was not the first or second time they had requested it. The most recent time was more than half an hour ago. Zhou did not think too much about it. He approved all their applications and pulled them into a group alone. Lord of the Blazing Sun. Hello everyone. Lord of the Blazing Sun. I heard from my little brother that everyone is interested in my kingdom token. Military Industry Lord. Hide. Dragon Lady Lord. Yes, I wonder if the King of the Blazing Sun is willing to sell it. Black Martial Lord. King of the Blazing Sun. The entire Cerulean Planet is currently experiencing the crisis of the tribulation of all races. Only when our Cerulean Planet's human lords join forces and build our own kingdom can we unite all our strength to protect ourselves. As a lord who has done so much with the kingdom token, why do you still have the intention to sell it? You should hand the kingdom token to us, the top lords of the Cerulean Planet. Only then can you minimize the losses of the Cerulean Planet's human race. If you ask for too much and we can't obtain the kingdom token, the human lords of the Cerulean Planet will suffer heavy losses because they are alone and helpless in this tribulation of all races. Can you bear this responsibility? As soon as these words were spoken, the entire chat group fell silent. The Military Industry Lord, the Undead Lord, the Overlord Lord, and the Dragon Lady Lord broke out in cold sweat. Lord of the Blazing Sun. You're really lucky to be alive until now with your intelligence. Lord of the Blazing Sun. Show some information about the compass of the soul of vengeance. Lord of the Blazing Sun. Bye-bye. Lord Black Martial has been moved out of the group chat. About 160 billion kilometers away from the Blazing Sun Kingdom, Black Martial City, when the Dark Martial Lord, Fan Yin, saw that he had been removed from the group chat, he was first stunned, then furious. Snap! A golden jade cup was smashed to the ground. A lord with dog luck walking in front is probably just a low-level person who earns a few thousand a month and has no power when he returns to the Cerulean Planet. How dare he treat me like this? If you dare to do this to me on the Cerulean Planet, I'll let your entire family live a life worse than death. Fan Yin was so angry that his entire body was trembling, and his gaze was ruthless. He was once an only child. With his family connections and doting, he controlled a lot of power in both the underworld and the underworld. On the Cerulean Planet, he was a person praised by tens of thousands of people. Women, wealth, power. It could be said that he could get whatever he wanted, even if there were some things that he could not obtain for the time being. He could easily obtain them with some small tricks. Who would have thought that the Supreme will moved countless cerulean planet people, including him, to the high continent on a whim? At the beginning Fan Yin, who had lost everything, felt very desperate. However, the subjects at the bottom obediently bowed down to him with an order, and he let his subordinates snatch the beautiful daughter of a commoner for him to enjoy during the day with a casual sentence, when there was no national law to punish him. He suddenly fell in love with this lawless life, where he made his own decisions. This was because the supreme right to be a lord was something he could not enjoy on the cerulean planet. Even though he could almost do whatever he wanted on the cerulean planet, there was still a limit. On the high continent, as long as he did not leave his territory, coupled with the extraordinary power given to him by the black martial artist Lord Talent, he could really do whatever he wanted without any scruples. At that moment, the Lord of the Blazing Sun appeared in his vision. His achievements, the wealth he had, the power he controlled, and his reputation among the lords of the cerulean planet, and even the lords of all races, were all things he was very jealous of and yearned to have. He had once tried to add the Lord of the Blazing Sun as a friend. It was because he wanted to use the methods he was good at to deceive the other party and transfer everything to him. And yet, his request was not approved. The Dark Martial Lord was very angry about this, but he had no choice. Later on, the kingdom token was discussed. Even though he was arrogant and domineering, he was not stupid. He naturally knew the value of the kingdom token. If he had the kingdom token and could build his own kingdom, the enjoyment of being a top-notch lord would definitely increase by hundreds or thousands of times. Therefore, he asked his friend to find the military industry lord to join this transaction. Then he, who was very stingy, was unwilling to pay a high price. Therefore, he wanted to use righteousness to coerce the other party. He did not expect the other party to not fall for this at all, and directly move him out of the group chat. No way! I definitely can't give up on the kingdom token. As long as I have the kingdom token, and build my own kingdom, the identity, status, wealth, and everything else I have will increase by more than 10 times. Now is the best time to build a kingdom. Otherwise, there will definitely not be such a good opportunity for me to possess so many resources in advance and build a kingdom after this special period of the tribulation of all races. Fanning quickly thought about it, and quickly thought of the military industry lord and the others. If they can obtain the kingdom token, I can try to see if I can snatch the kingdom token from them. A ruthless glint flashed across his eyes. He was more afraid of fog monsters. However, he was best at dealing with his fellow clansmen. He came back to his senses. He was about to close the chat group in front of him that could no longer speak. Then, he saw the treasure information of the compass of the soul of vengeance sent by Zhou. How can there be such a treasure? When he saw the ability of this compass, his originally ruthless expression suddenly turned pale. On the other side in the chat group, at this moment no one spoke. All the lords in the chat group, other than Zhou, were staring fixedly at the treasure information of the compass of the soul of vengeance. Such a treasure actually exists? All the lords present were terrified. Why did someone still dare to scold the Lord of the Blazing Sun in the world channel of the cerulean planet at this stage? To put it simply, he thought that he was untouchable with this distance between them. No matter how powerful you, the Lord of the Blazing Sun, are you going to come to my territory to capture me through the cerulean planet's world channel? Since you can't, then why should I be afraid? Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. I can scold anyone I want. Who cares who you like or dislike? Such an aura was like a keyboard warrior. The reason why this dark martial lord dared to say such brainless words was partly because of his personality and his desire to coerce Zhou. However, the main reason was because he was not afraid that Zhou would come and take revenge on him. However, he never expected that Zhou actually had a treasure like the compass of the soul of vengeance. Therefore he was dumbfounded. At the same time, the 4 top lords, the Dragon Lady Lord, the Overlord Lord, the Undead Lord, and the Mystic Heaven Lord, also warned themselves in their hearts. Unless they had the strength to resist the Lord of the Blazing Sun in the future, or the ability to stop the compass of the soul of vengeance from detecting their location, they definitely could not provoke the king of the blazing sun otherwise. He would use this treasure to find their location before sending an army to suppress the border. Then the person who provoked the king of the blazing sun would really be finished. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.